What is up, everybody? Welcome back after a week off. We're back with Sports Clichés. We're on episode 29. Sports Clichés, the show where the standings don't matter and really our points don't matter either, because who the hell knows what's going on here. It is
the NFL.
it is a wonderful time in the NFL season where we have a bunch of 500 teams. We have a couple good teams, and we have no idea what the hell is going to happen through the rest of the season. Trade deadline upon us as well this week. A lot of exciting shakeups that we'll probably go over with that. How you doing though, Craig?
I'm doing all right. We had the week off, and the NFL continued to go to shit in that week. I don't know. It's been fun. I think there's like two line of thoughts with the NFL right now. It's either you love the chaos of this year and it's great,
Right.
or it's the fucking worst quality of football you've ever seen. I think I'm in a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
It's been a fun one. I think there's I think we kind of have a feeling, a history with certain teams, certain players that I think some of us are starting to kind of drop. Is the mystique of the teams like the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers, even after a couple MVP seasons, is that stuff starting to fade away? Tom Brady, the Bucks, is that starting to fade away? These are guys you can usually look to have some good games for you, put up some points, and usually lead teams to the playoffs. But I mean, granted, we're only in week 8 or so coming up here, but if playoffs were to start now, these guys would not be making it in. And let's go ahead and hit upon that game that happened last night. The Baltimore Ravens going into Tampa Bay, and a 27-22 game. But if you watched it, Tampa got absolutely skunked in this one. Not really even close. Lamar doing some, nice Lamar things. Brady trying to run and looking every bit of 45 as he is. And just an offense that can move at times, and then when they really need to actually put something together, it just always fell apart. Suckup got a lot of work in a kicker for him. They just can't convert things into touchdowns anymore here.
No, like Brady's numbers off the cuff, you're gonna see them and go, it's not awful.
No, it's actually, yeah.
26 of 44, obviously not the accuracy you want to see, but 325, a touchdown, no picks. That's not a bad game at all.
Right.
But that, I think, belittles very much what his actual game was, which was missing wide open dudes all game. This Baltimore defense was supposed to be their strength. Like, it was supposed to be among their biggest strengths was how good their defense is. Man, they cannot cover receivers. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin spent half of that game open, and Tom was just missing them. It was bad. And yeah, good thing you have Ryan Suckup. He's very good. Makes this game look a little bit better than it actually was.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. It's one of those weird games where it's like Baltimore dominates this game and wins it, and that's great. I feel less good about Baltimore after this game. Like, if you can't, like, if your reliable way to win games is the other team's quarterback can't make accurate throws consistently, that's not good when in the playoffs you're definitely going to have to face at least one of Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes to get to the Super Bowl, probably both.
Yeah, I think it's always been the mix with this team of who are you going to rely on outside of Lamar to really drive offense for you? Dobbins has been looking like potentially the guy as far as the backfield's concerned, but then injuries and that sort of thing pops up. You have guys like Gus Edwards and Kenyon Drake that you all of a sudden have to rely on to carry the load, and they didn't do badly last night. Of course, pretty decent numbers for them. Lamar doing his thing, getting out of the pocket, and a guy like Duvernay who came back from injury kind of nice to see him,
Huge.
get in there, get in.
Yep.
He's attacking all assets. He's running for you. He's catching balls for you. He's taking returns for you as well. So that's going to help out this team with the times they do seem to struggle on offense. It's always the feeling I've had with the Baltimore Ravens, and they have the Vic Fangio kind of syndrome in that. It gets a little complacent, gets a little boring perhaps on offense, gets a little too predictable on offense, and that will happen. And this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team, I mean, I would say, except for maybe the handful, couple weeks or that sort of thing, would be a very highly regarded defense. But now they're getting dinged up by injuries. I believe they just lost Shaquille Griffin, right?
Yeah, done for. Oh no, Shaq Barrett.
Barrett, sorry, Griffin.
Shit. Yeah,
Griffin,
Shaq.
different defensive player. Anyways, but
Yeah,
I mean,
Shaq Barrett's gone. Done for the year.
yeah. So it's like this team's not gonna be getting any favors in that regard.
Nope.
We always talk about we love our guys like your Vita Veas and that sort of thing, but it's just like that's just one guy, and Barrett's one of those guys for you. And unfortunately, now they're not going to have that. The team it looks bad for the Bucks. I mean, obviously that record's going to show for it, and what you would have imagined kind of more of a runaway easy division for them to take. They're looking every bit like your third, fourth best team in that division right now.
Which is saying something because the Panthers could end the week as the number one seed in that division.
And we'll get into that game. A hell of a fight for the first place in the NFC
Fuck
South.
me.
Trying to get to 500 or close to it.
The team that's trading all of their players
Yes. Yeah.
could
And
be
somehow
the number one seed
find
in
themselves
the
in the
NFC
playoffs.
South.
Wacky. I mean, that's the thing. Who wants to win that division at this point? Yeah, that's kind of it feels like it's
Like
coming down.
four teams that want to rebuild.
In their own sense, but like I don't know, teams that have looked strong out of all of them. Honestly, to think back to some of the games, Tampa might have be one of the weakest looking ones. Like, has there been a point when they've really have they looked strong at any point this season? They've looked like a shell of themselves. So.
No, even looking at their wins, they're not against particularly impressive opponents, and they struggled to get them.
Yeah.
Right.
And on the flip side, though, talking about Baltimore, I think not incredibly impressive in the win. There's definitely holes to fill, but they're at least winning games. Time to figure that out while still winning games, and being first in your division is a lot different than being potentially the worst team in your division and having those same problems. It feels like.
Exactly. They got plenty of time until that Bengals game, which could be a big one as far as determining who wins that division.
Sure.
They got plenty of time to figure out what's ailing them right now. And it's a few things, right? Lamar hasn't looked great this year. He's overthrowing guys like a lot. That's why I imagine it was nice for him to have a 6'5" tight end in there, and Isaiah Likely pulling some stuff down for him yesterday. He's been overthrowing guys a lot. You could tell he misses the deep threat. Hollywood Brown last year was his guy that he threw over the top to, and he couldn't overthrow him, right? I'd throw it 50 yards down the field. Hollywood will get there, right? And it feels like he hasn't found that guy for him yet. Obviously, as I mentioned, the defense really having trouble marking wide receivers.
Right.
But you have some time, like you look at their schedule right now, they don't really have a difficult game until maybe the road game against the Bengals at the end of the season. Their rest of the season is Saints, Panthers, Jags, Broncos, Steelers, Browns, Falcons, Steelers, Bengals. There is one game in there. Potentially, if the Steelers and Kenny Pickett can figure things out, they can maybe make it a little bit of a game at home.
Yeah.
The Jaguars from week to week seem to go from being absolute dog shit to, hey, they look like an up-and-coming team a little bit. So who knows what Jaguars you're going to get. But beyond that, nothing in there. That Browns game, they will have Deshaun Watson back. Maybe. I don't know. But we haven't seen Deshaun Watson play football in almost 2 years now. So how will he look? Honestly, there's a very realistic possibility that the Ravens have just an incredible walkthrough to that Bengals game.
Right. Yeah, I think yeah, you got to be wary of the Bengals. I think even the Browns, even if it was a situation for some reason or another, you didn't have Watson back. I mean, obviously they will by that game, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like sometimes those division games, those teams always play each other very tough, and Pittsburgh, like, it's not a good record, obviously at this point, but like I don't know, you had glimpses of something decent being there. It's a very I don't think anybody's quite a real seller team in that division. It's kind of four teams that are fighting for it. Pittsburgh probably the worst one, but I think even that team can give the Ravens problems on the right
Especially
day.
at Heinz.
Yeah,
Especially at Heinz Field. You know those
not
two teams hate each
which
other.
isn't Heinz Field anymore.
Yeah,
I don't know what the
it's
fuck
Heinz
they're.
Field.
Yeah, I
It's
hate that
Heinz
shit.
Field.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, those two teams hate each other, right? Pittsburgh's gonna want that game bad, and that one could be another one. But like, we're talking two or three potential stumbling blocks in a nine. Like they should, even playing the way they are right now, where they look a little bit out of sync, everything looks a little bit off. Should be able to handle the Saints. Should be able to handle the Panthers. Definitely should be able to handle the Broncos. Uh, Falcons at home. I love the way this Falcons team's made up, and they're gonna play everybody tough. But that is a game that if you are a playoff team, you should win. And then again, Steelers on the reverse side at home, they're gonna play you tough. But if you're a playoff team, you need to win that game. So we're talking two or three stumbling points in an 8-game season that brings you to the last week against the Bengals. Right.
Yeah.
It's a very favorable schedule going forward for them.
Yeah, and for as much as I think going into the season and even still kind of holding on to that hope just based on the talent shift that we saw in the conferences. Pretty surprising to see how off some of these AFC teams are looking, given the amount of talent that was acquired by some of these. Again, I suppose you could kind of make the argument that a lot of those teams are playing each other because they're in the same conference, but it's been a little surprising. Obviously, from teams like your Cincinnati's that have absolutely underperformed. Your Denver's that have absolutely started like it looks like tank season all of a sudden for that squad.
Yeah.
Just like very surprising fall offs for teams that did accumulate talent over this off season. But that just kind of goes to show sometimes it's you take the wrong players, you put them in the wrong scheme, and you get a really bad result. And I think it's there's definitely some growing pains to be had by signing these guys. And this is when we're gonna hopefully start to see some of the cream rise to the top sort of thing. You're getting close to about halfway through this season now. If some of these teams haven't been figuring out, then you're gonna have those situations. Your Indy Colts. All of a sudden, Sam Ellinger out of all of a sudden, you do this whole thing for Matt Ryan. It's the big story. We're getting on for Wentz, and then by the time you even have that goddamn Washington game come back, who are your two quarterbacks who are going to be playing?
Heineke and Ellinger.
Who would have fucking guessed? Like, the fuck am I supposed to make of that game? All right, we'll move on though. I would say last night was a little bit of an eye opener more to. This Tampa team's bad.
How bad the Bucks are. Yeah, definitely. Like the Ravens didn't look great, but the Bucks are atrocious.
Yeah, they really just never got together. And
Oh yeah, speaking of that, we haven't talked about the fact that the Panthers beat the dog shit out of them the week before.
right, yes, yeah, and exactly. You're coming off back-to-back games. Baltimore is a loss you could kind of accept if you're hanging in there and playing well, but they weren't. And then the week before, you practically get shut out. I mean, I think they put up a field goal in the fourth there.
They put up a field goal in the fourth quarter.
Just like absolutely absurd given the state that the Panthers were in going into that game.
They got their shit pushing on defense by PJ Walker,
PJ Walks.
Deontay Foreman, and Chuba Hubbard.
And they're not even going to have Hubbard for this next game. We'll see about. Amazing. Um, let's keep it going though. We'll move on to last week's games. That was last night's though, so the first one of the week 8 here. But let's rewind the clock and go overseas. Or actually, no, this one was never mind. This was at Arizona, right?
Yeah.
New Orleans, Arizona. Okay.
Yeah.
It's like they did this week off where they didn't have a London game, and now they're going
Yeah,
back
now
to
they're
having
going
a
back
London
to
game.
London.
Motherfuckers, man. I honestly, and I will preface every kind of as we're going over all these games from last week. Very busy week for me, so like
Yes.
I caught very little of any of these games. I really just kind of took a look at some highlights to get a little familiarized, but we'll have Craig probably be able to cover us on some of the finer points here. But we had Arizona hosting New Orleans, hosting the Saints, and finally picking up a decent offensive performance in the first half. Started to let it slip away a little bit in the second in some garbage time there, but ultimately coming out with the 8-point win against the Saints. Decent enough game, I suppose you could say, for Kyler Murray. It's absolutely like as far as yards and that sort of thing, but this is more this team's identity at this point. What I would have thought would be a very have some pretty good explosiveness to it in the offense. Outside of DeAndre Hopkins coming back, that was it for this Cardinals team. It looks like.
Yeah, and I mean, you had the Red Rocket gifting them
Right.
points galore off of those interceptions, right?
Right.
Like, one of them was returned for a touchdown. I think another one, they're down at like the 10, 15-yard line. It's a free touchdown
Short
after
fields.
that. Benjamin looked really good. And I don't think I've said that since like he was drafted. But he looked really good. Obviously they got Nuke Hopkins back. That's gonna help any offense. Here, have DeAndre Hopkins. You look at Kyler Murray's yardage, 204 yards, 103 of it to Nuke, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's just gonna help, right? They didn't get a single completion to Robbie Anderson, which is interesting. First game there,
Right.
you give it some time, I suppose, but I don't know. Honestly, the Saints imploding in on itself was more of what I got out of this game than Arizona's offense looking like they're getting back in a stride.
Right.
Dalton is the strangest quarterback, man. Because he'll have drives where you're like, holy shit, he's so good. This is the best backup in the NFL easily.
Yeah.
Then he'll just throw to nobody and pick six the other way, and you go, that's why Dalton's a backup now. And it's very bizarre. They got some stuff going with Taysom Hill again. It feels like they're committed to finding ways to get Taysom Hill in the game, which I think is smart. He doesn't really have a true position, right? Like, I know he hasn't missed a pass this year, but he's definitely not a quarterback. And he's sneaky fast, but he's not fast enough to be your prototypical running back. He's big, but I don't think of him as a tight end. He just kind of, they get him on the field wherever they need him on the field, and it's kind of working for them. And I think that's got to be what they kind of keep doing, because you can't let Dalton throw the ball 47 times if he's going to be throwing 3 picks. You just, that can't be the game plan. So maybe it is more Taysom Hill gadget plays. I don't know. They got to figure out something, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's you wonder what this offense would be looking like, how they'd be operating if you had a healthy, stable Jameis Winston in there. Obviously, he wasn't stable toward right before he got injured. the picks started happening again, it started to unravel a little bit there. Yeah, I mean, I think for the Saints, you have guys like a Kamara, like a Hill. Um,
So
you,
Olave.
you found something in Olave, and it's kind of interesting in that he'll continue to get some decent numbers for him, but yeah, in the idea that you have Taysom out there, and he is. I guess you always have to be aware of him. Is kind of the thing, right? That you're almost kind of alluding to as far as we put this guy on the field. Uh, Most of the time, he's just there to almost draw attention. He's a dummy. He's a
Yeah,
uh, you know
he's a decoy.
a decoy. There you go. And you know that will allow you to work within a different amount of space. It's kind of your ISO in basketball, that sort of
Yeah.
thing. Just like I need to make things as simple as possible. That should eliminate the mistakes for a guy like a Dalton, who has the ability to get throws out there clearly still, but the decision making's not there all the time. And it might be, you know, I think it's one of the funny things when you have and Andy Dalton's not Tom Brady's age by any means, but I feel like there's some comparison to be made there in that uh, you know both guys I would argue for a time, while never runners and known for like you know getting a bunch of yards on the ground for you, uh, perhaps we're able to work less than stellar pockets basically and be able to move up within them, and utilizing nice timing on routes to be able to get that sort of thing done. I think with this New Orleans team, it's just like outside of Olave, and you just don't have the same kind of Alvin Kamara that you hope for. A gadget player like Taysom Hill, like where is the real consistency for this team as far as offensive weaponry? And it's just not there outside of
No.
Olave, which is a very nice little you'll have that for some years it seems like, but outside of that, you don't really have anybody to really rely on. And likewise, on the other side, I mean, Benjamin, as you brought up, a surprise, but are you going to rely on that guy to be able to deliver, uh, you know, 100, almost 100 yards, rushing, being a reliable target for you, that sort of thing? No, I don't think so. It's nice that you get D Hop back, but with the way Kyler Murray's been playing, he's been anything but consistent for this team. So just just too much inconsistency to really like be too happy with either of these teams right now, and I can't imagine. Uh, I can't imagine either of these teams being 500 teams by the end of it. Uh,
Nope. And the big problem for the Saints is they look bad and they don't have a first round pick next year. Uh, Enjoy that one, Philly.
yeah, yeah,
As if the Eagles needed more top end talent. You get the Saints pick next year, which is very likely going to be top 10, could potentially be top 5. God forbid the Saints really suck down the stretch and they're in position to grab one of those three quarterbacks, which they're not going to do, but they're going to trade that thing for a boatload of picks. Because they're, for people who don't know going into this draft, there's three quarterbacks at the top of this draft class that are potential game changing quarterbacks for any franchise. It's CJ Stroud, Will Levis, and Bryce Young. If Philadelphia is in a position to draft one of those players, they flip that pick for a ransom, and they can do it in a combination of we'll take all of your draft picks and your best players, and you're going to do it because franchise quarterbacks are that important in the NFL. That's the scariest thing to me about how bad the Saints are right now is that could realistically give Philly the opportunity to go, we got one of the quarterbacks, baby. Who's paying?
right. Yeah, I mean, it's. it's a great situation when you already have a young quarterback that is your franchise guy.
Yep.
At that high value. I mean, and they already like they killed in the draft last year, as we all
Oh
saw.
yeah.
So it's like, given having that kind of utility, that kind of bargaining chip on your side. I mean, this squad's shown that they could do something with it. I mean, the fact that they just picked up fucking Robert Quinn
Yeah. Oh my God.
for
Pennies on the
peanuts.
dollar.
Yeah, for peanuts.
Like what the fuck?
And this is
They're in on
by
Kamara apparently too.
and we this obviously was the Philly game, so we'll stop talking about. But
Yeah.
that Philly team also is like the least fucking injured team by a long shot in the entire NFL. They have like one player injured. Yep. It's fucking insane. Yep. So hats off to them. They got that New Orleans pick. That's only probably going to get better. I think that's an easy top 5 pick for you.
It very well could be because like if you look at the Saints schedule down the stretch too, not the easiest schedule in the world, right? They still got the Ravens, still got the Steelers on the road, Niners on the road, Browns on the road when they'll have Deshaun Watson back, Bucks on the road. Now we know the Saints play the Bucks well and the Bucks kind of stink, but that's going to be a game that's going to mean a lot for the Bucks as far as this division goes. Same thing with the Falcons game at home. Probably is going to mean something to the Falcons. Oh, by the way, you still have the Eagles on the road as well.
Yeah.
That's not an easy schedule.
A lot of L's.
A lot of L's indeed.
Yeah, but I think overall, at least for the Cardinals, like you got the short field, you got the mistakes, you were able to put up a big number. As far
the
as
number looks good.
They haven't been doing anything as far as their scoring for the most part throughout the season. Yep. So at least you put up a 42, as much as it's skewed with interceptions and short fields and stuff like that.
Honestly, perception can be reality. If that's what it takes to kind of get this team out of the funk where it's like, we just put up 42 points, the offense is back, and you can just ignore the fact that it came off of a lot of defensive plays and that you put up the 42 points, it could be the kind of thing that ticks.
Yeah.
Now, we'll see if that does. But
yeah. But let's keep it going. You're going to have to give me some insight to this game because I'm taking a look at some of this box score, and I'm very surprised to see so few plays on the Atlanta side. Atlanta going into Cincinnati, playing the Bengals, 35-17. This game got out of hand real quick within the beginning of the second quarter, right? It's 21-0.
Yeah.
Just I would imagine just a lot of little 3 and outs, that sort of thing for the Falcons to start this game and just never able to really catch up from then.
Yeah, they couldn't move the ball. They couldn't move the ball consistently. They had one big play to Demare Bird. Obviously, the big story of this game is they lost AJ Terrell. Right? AJ Terrell gets hurt on like play 2 or 3. It blows out his hamstring. And that was it for their pass defense, right? They didn't have anybody who could shut down any of those Bengals receivers at that point. I mean, the numbers for the 3 guys, we all know them now, Boyd, Chase, Higgins, are video game level ridiculous, right? And that was just it, right? Like AJ Terrell is so much of that pass defense that without him, they just didn't have anybody who could stop those guys. And Burrow moved the ball at will. The time of possession numbers for the friggin' Bengals were ridiculous. I don't have them up in front of me, but it was kind of wild how much possession the Bengals had in that game over the Falcons.
They ended 33-27 minutes. So actually not a crazy disparity by the end, but that's probably skewed from a second half of a lot
of garbage time numbers in there. At halftime, the Bengals had something like 60 to 70% of the ball in the first half.
And this has to, I mean, like, you could speak to this as a fan of the team. Just very, like, that's got to be, I have no idea what to really make of this Falcons team. You're talking about in 3 consecutive weeks, you're talking about a loss to this Tampa Bay team that we know isn't good.
Isn't
you
very good.
then kind of work the Niners. Like that game was kind of close at like I think the Niners get out to
The one time I
it's
don't
like
homer pick, the one
yeah,
time.
exactly. Yeah. See, and I'll hold that over you for the rest of the time because that was the game. Like that was a civil war, and then you went my side, and then we lost. So thanks,
Oh,
Falcons fan.
oh.
Um, but then yeah, and then you just like you get just kind of stomped. Granted, injuries and that sort of thing. It seems like I think Cordell Patterson, what, one more week
Yeah,
out
it
of
sounds like
IR.
he's yeah, it sounds like he's out this week,
Yeah,
maybe back next week, more likely back for the Chargers game.
yeah. So, yeah, you got to hope that that could start to turn around. You could start to work that kind of I know they like the kind of RPO or the option style running, that sort of thing. You allow Mariota to use his legs, which he could be effective with. Um, Not make it such cut and dry passing situations, but you also need to throw the ball a little bit more. You gotta have the threat in there. I feel like if you're the Falcons as well, um, you got a guy like Drake London that has shown flashes of being able to do things for you. He's one of your few targets that you're going to be able to go to, unfortunately. So, uh, yeah, would be something to see that out of him. But yeah, uh, this is a Bengals team that's all of a sudden now you got that winning record back, and they're looking quite a bit more like the team that we expected them to.
Honestly, for the Falcons, you know it's going to be a cure-all? Playing the Panthers two of the next three games.
Yes,
Um,
that's right.
uh, the Falcons are kind of what. Honestly, I can't even say that. I think the Falcons are probably better than what people thought they were.
Yeah,
They're, which is they're right around an average to slightly below average team who, when they play good teams, are not going to be able to beat them. But when they play teams they're supposed to beat, they'll usually end up beating them, and they can spring a surprise or two if they get taken lightly. Right? Um, that's honestly better than I thought the Falcons were going to be this year. This is a team that has a lot of holes, right? And I said it when we picked up Mariota. I love Marcus Mariota, but I don't think this is the offensive line to be behind where Marcus Mariota can thrive. He's actually having a decent enough season. They got to throw the ball more. But when you consider the fact that he threw four interceptions in his first four starts, hasn't thrown an interception his last three games. It's up to 7 touchdowns on the year. Passer ratings 90.4 or something like that, so slightly above average. Like he's been decent behind an offensive line that has many holes. Um, I I had trouble being upset by it because if you had told me at the start of the season we lost 35-17 to the Bengals, I would have been like, yeah, that sounds about right. But if you had told me that's the game that drops us a game below 500 with 2 games against the shit Panthers coming up, I'd be like, holy shit, Falcons going to the playoffs, baby. Let's go. It was it was what I expected of the game. Uh, but in a season where they've kind of exceeded my expectations of the team, so I can take it in stride in this one.
Yeah, let's keep it moving. To a team that is they're taking the losses in stride. That's for damn sure, and very unfortunate because this is the team everybody rallied behind the Lions this year, and it's not looking gravy. The Detroit Lions going in to Dallas to face off against the Cowboys led for a bit of time, led in that first half, but ultimately kind of get worked in this one, 24-6. Detroit falling to 1-5. Dallas going up to 5-2. This was Dak's return, I believe, after the uh, the wonderful
Yeah,
the wonderful run that we all had and enjoyed with
big ups Cooper Rush.
Cooper Rush. Thank you. From what I could tell, and this was one that I kind of had my eye on, like just seeing the score move a little bit, but uh, this Detroit team in the second half couldn't help but turn the ball over like every possession, basically.
Jared Goff is a pumpkin. It turns out he is no longer a carriage. He is a pumpkin again. Um,
5 incompletions, 2 of them were picks.
Two of them were picks,
That's
and that's
rough.
not counting the fumble he had.
Yes.
Um,
2 fumbles, actually, yeah.
did
Two
he
lost
did
fumbles.
he have two of them?
2 fumbles for loss.
I know Jamal Williams lost one,
Yep.
so he lost the other two, huh?
So, yeah. Goff
Yeah,
responsible for 4 turnovers in that second half. Yeah.
they keep shooting themselves in the foot because they don't have a quarterback. It's a league where if you don't have a competent quarterback, you can't win much. Jared Goff has proven he's not really a competent quarterback. You can't win much. I feel for the Lions because there's also a lot of injury issues that's been
Right.
troubling this team.
Yeah.
They're down like 5 wide receivers at one point. Amon-Ra St. Brown is still slowly being worked back in. I don't think he's anywhere near 100%, but they just need bodies who can play the game right now. Because honestly, for a long time, their only receiver on their roster who was healthy was Khalif Raymond. So they're trying with the guys they have, but their offense was killed by injuries before it even started. And unfortunately, the guy whose injury might have helped you a little bit is Jared Goff, who is still playing. So I don't know. It's hard, right? I I expected more out of the Cowboys offense, to be honest with you. But I'll I'll keep beating the drum. As long as they keep giving Ezekiel Elliott as many or more carries than Tony Pollard, this is gonna keep happening. Like
Not nearly scoring as many, yeah, as you should have. This first half, yeah, I mean, first half you're talking about you put up 3 points
3 points
against the Detroit Lions.
against
Not
a
impressive.
Lions defense that is horrendous.
Right.
They were historically bad for the first few weeks, and you made them look downright decent.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Hell, the way they were turning the ball over, they only gave up 24 points. That's an awesome defensive game.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of an interesting one because you're talking about this Dallas team that, they took a loss. They lost that fucking Tampa team that we hate. Week 1,
Yeah,
right? Dak
yeah,
goes
but that
down,
was
though.
the game where Dak gets injured and Cooper
Dak
Rush
didn't
has to
look.
come
Dak
in. And...
didn't look good in that game, though. He did
No, that's
not.
true.
Yeah, and so you finally get Dak back, but it's like already you've seen this season, even with this big gap and playing. When he played, he didn't look good beforehand. So it's like it's definitely like that slow start. It will pick back up, I imagine, for him. And now they're in a very interesting situation. We'll hit upon their next game later, but now you're talking about Zeke probably not playing in this game,
Yeah.
right? This next one coming up. So you're potentially getting the wish that you're talking about here, in that you're
Cowboys
probably
fans
going to
everywhere
see
rejoice.
you're probably going to be seeing that Tony Pollard. The thing is, Pollard has always basically been. I mean, granted, Zeke's been injured too, but I think for the most part, they've always kind of wanted to kind of play Tony Pollard with kid gloves, essentially. Like, don't give him the crazy workload of like 20 plus carries. They are very hesitant to do that with the guy. I don't know where you go at this point. They might have to, and so we'll kind of be able to see a little bit more of perhaps the full extent of what this offense can do. With a healthy Dak and with a Pollard as your main back in the backfield there. I believe Dalton Schultz is going to be out for this next game. And I know that's like a very nice safety valve that Dak's been going to for the last couple of years here. So that's going to hurt him for sure.
And that's very interesting too, because it felt like Cooper Rush didn't really go to him.
He didn't, and that would be that the tight ends always like that would almost be the default. I figured this guy is going to be the most targeted on the other team,
Yeah.
like when you have the backup come in, but it wasn't the case for Rush.
Nope.
And so
But yeah, Dalton Schultz with a nice bounce back game. As I mentioned, it felt like Cooper didn't go to him. Dak does go to him 5 times, 49 yards again, being Dalton Schultz, and then he gets hurt. That's a rough one. Now Peyton Hendershot has shown flashes of being a decent tight end, right? And maybe Hendershot can take that role temporarily. We'll see about that, but
yeah.
I don't know. Dallas offense is not looking right, and
What?
honestly, it kind of looks like a Mike McCarthy offense. Let's be real, right?
Yeah, I don't think this team. I mean, their defense is really goddamn good. So
Oh my
right now,
god.
it just hasn't been too necessary. They've looked pretty solid without putting up crazy numbers. But yeah, I think I think eventually you're gonna be wanting to see this team, put up a little bit more. You got to be starting to put up, the high 20s, the into the 30 points, especially, uh, you know, Philly themselves. That's those are going to be very interesting games because I mean, with Philly, you got them both working. This is an offense that can go, and this is a
Yep.
defense that can stop. So it's going to be.
You still
You
gotta
gotta get your
host the
offense. You gotta
Giants too,
right.
which
Hey, one lost Giants team exactly. That NFC
and
East,
they
all of a sudden the juggernaut of the.
the
Yeah.
Giants, what they do really well too is they let teams shoot themselves in the foot. They let teams implode in front of them, and they just don't do it. They'll beat you by playing consistently solid and letting everybody else fall at their feet. Dallas will implode. Like it it just feels like a really bad matchup for them, that New York matchup too. And if they can't get past Philly and they can't get past New York, well, it doesn't matter how well you're playing against everybody else because now you're third in this division and likely in a bad playoff spot where you probably have to play Philly in the or maybe Minnesota in the first round, right? And I don't think those are really either games that Dallas wants.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. I mean, who is gonna want to play those teams early on for sure in the playoffs? No doubt. Uh, let's move it over though. Go from the NFC East. Let's go over to the AFC side, down south to the Indianapolis Colts going into Tennessee, and unfortunately, never really gaining any traction, losing to the Titans 19-10. The last game for the foreseeable future for Matt Ryan starting.
Probably ever, right? Like
Well,
we've probably seen Matt Ryan's last game, haven't we?
it wasn't a great one. 44 attempts, 33, 75% on the completion percentage, but you only put up 243, a touchdown, two picks. On the other side, you're talking about a Tennessee Titan team that, as far as the offensive side of the ball, I mean, I'm going to keep handing the ball to Derrick Henry. We're going to grind this out. Our defense is
Yep.
going to be playing pretty goddamn well. And Tannehill won't even throw for 150 yards. 132. Derrick Henry almost ran for more yards than Tannehill passed for this one. Um, yeah, I mean, obviously, I think uh, I will credit, Indy still has that defense that's kind of keeping them around a bit.
Yeah.
But uh, man, it's crazy to think because like they were really bad. Obviously, they took some bad losses. You have a tie to the goddamn Texans and everything like that. Um, this Indy team's still somehow 500, and actually still even with what I feel is a kind of ugly loss here. Um, Still hanging around in that division somehow. But yeah, Tennessee looking more of kind of the typical Tennessee uh, that we've seen for past years. Not a whole lot of offense, nothing whiz bang about it. But don't make mistakes. Hand Henry the ball, and our defense will get the job done.
Yeah, I just think the issue for the Colts is unlike in the NFC. I don't think 500 is going to be enough to make it in the AFC. I think there's a couple too many teams that are going to finish with 10, 11 wins that I don't think you can go 8, 8-1 and make the playoffs. Uh, right. You might be able to pull that off if you were in the NFC. I think there's what, five teams above 500 in the NFC, and three of them are in the NFC East.
No,
Um, but
it
there's just a few too many good teams in the AFC, I think. They have to catch the Titans, and I think what this game proved is the Titans are back to kind of being the Titans. Listen, Ryan, we love you. Don't ever throw the ball. You give the ball to Derrick Henry and you get out of his way.
Right.
It was a classic Henry, right? The first half he was okay, and then he just kept going and going and going, and he broke him.
Yeah.
Like he does to a lot of teams.
Yeah, it's and I think I almost feel like this decision was made before this game. As far as Matt Ryan being pulled out of starting duty, I feel like that was a decision that was almost like I don't know why they necessarily left him out there in the second half to keep it going, but like this game started for the Colts. Punt, pick six, pick, punt, and you're done with the first half. That's fucking brutal, man. Like you're getting nothing, and a lot of these you're talking about, maybe a first down conversion, and then you're giving the ball right back to Tennessee. As good as your defense is, this is exactly what Tennessee's gonna be. Yeah, no, we're just gonna keep hand the ball to Derrick Henry. You're gonna hate it because our offensive line is gonna continuously be pushing up against you. We're not gonna pass block. We're gonna continuously run into you, and even good defenses could only hang in for so long, and you'll give up you'll give up just enough, and that's exactly what Tennessee did. I this style of game, yeah. I mean, we just won't make the mistake. You guys have already clearly made mistakes. We've taken 7 points from you. We got another pick, that sort of thing. We'll just let you keep doing that, and we'll just keep handing the ball off and be pretty satisfied with it. We'll punt every now and then, but yeah, for the most part, just absolutely kind of the grind out kind of games that Tennessee's won before, and if they keep this kind of play up, a lot of games to be won for sure for them, and looking like a strong team, obviously, within that division. All of a sudden, they didn't look good. This is another team that looked kind of bad early on, and you're just wondering what the hell are they still doing with Tannehill out there? And now 4-2, and you're leading your division.
Yeah, they look like the number one seed from last year, right? This is exactly what they did to teams. Tannehill, we love you, but your job is give the ball to Derrick Henry and get out of his way. We're going to have to throw the ball occasionally, and I mean occasionally,
right?
But your job is to give the ball to Derrick Henry. And
on the flip side, I feel like if you're the Colts, your idea should be we need to give the ball to Jonathan Taylor. Probably the most explosive back.
God, watching that game was frustrating. Listen, I know that he's just coming back off of injury, and he was probably on a snap count, but Jesus Christ, this game was huge to your season. Jonathan Taylor is actually playing well. He's the only one on the field for you who's actually playing well. Maybe let go of the reins a little bit as that game gets a little bit later and go, hey, listen, we got to treat this game like it's kind of a playoff game.
Yeah.
Let's let Jonathan Taylor go.
Yeah.
They didn't do that. They did not. He ran for 5.8 and they only gave him 10 rushes.
Right.
Oh.
And this team just doesn't have it as far as weapons are concerned. I mean, it was nice to see Paris Campbell actually have a decent little game. 10 catches there, not crazy yards. You got Pittman, who's been coming back off of injury, and that's a bit of it too. Obviously guys have been dinged up and they haven't been at 100%. Even for times when Jonathan Taylor, was dinged up though, you kind of expected more out of a Nyheim Hines or something like that. You just never saw it from this team. But all that being said, they are surprisingly going to still probably hang around right there as far as when playoff times come. The problem being is this is a team I feel you have more expectations just hanging around, because last season they just hung around and then they didn't make the playoffs. Yeah. And it's kind of looking the same way this time. Now, by the end of it, is this a team that is should be better than a team like the New York Jets? Yeah, probably should, but they're doing everything like not to win these games. It feels. I think the game plan's been off. You're having Matt Ryan throw the ball too many damn times, so you got to be looking at Frank Reich. You got to be looking at that offensive coordinator. And especially because you're so flat in the first half. It's like those first 15 plays, those scripted plays, aren't working at all for this team. They're getting absolutely stuffed on their scripted plays. So it's a bad sign. It hasn't been working for them. And I'm interested. We'll talk about their upcoming game. You probably have a little bit of knowledge about this Sam Ellinger, don't you?
A little bit of a spoiler alert for the future. I love Sam Ellinger. Big Sam Ellinger fan.
And I think that's kind of what I've seen as far as stories about this guy starting. I mean, I guess he had some decent plays in the preseason coming up, and everything about his college game tells you that he could be a guy, basically. Yeah. So we'll see from them going forward. But yeah, this is the kind of sour note that the Colts have been hitting this season, and hopefully they're able to right the ship with a different quarterback here. And honestly, probably with a guy like Ellinger back there, it's gonna they're gonna have to redraw this offense a little bit. Hopefully, it makes them do the right thing and you get Jonathan Taylor a little bit more involved, because you got a kid back there that's not experienced. So do him a favor. Let's keep it moving, though. A team that's not doing themselves any favors because they can't figure out who the hell to throw the ball to or to rely on. And for some reason, you just don't have the trust in guys like Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon anymore. The Packers going into Washington and losing a 2-point game to the Commies, 23-21. I mean, to say that it's they haven't looked anything like themselves is an understatement as far as the Packers are concerned. And I gotta say, nice to see Heineke back out there slinging the rock, doing all right, getting a couple tutties himself. And this Washington team actually, causing some problems out there. It's hilarious. This Green Bay team should be so much better, but they suck. They're bad.
They don't understand that in the game of football. I'm about to teach the Green Bay Packers how the game of football works.
Right.
You see, when the quarterback snaps the ball, he can drop back and throw the ball. That is true.
Uh-huh.
But there's usually a guy behind him who he can step aside and give the ball to, and that person can run the ball. Now, the Green Bay Packers are a special team in the NFL because they don't have just one.
I got two.
They have two really good running backs who ran the ball 12 times combined in that game.
Yeah.
What? You were leading at the half! It's not even like you were having to play catch-up.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say anymore about it.
Yeah, it's a mess. I think the one thing that's, we always, I think the feeling was, obviously, you've lost to Devontae. You're not going to have quite the same prowess as far as throwing the ball as you were, at least to begin the season. You have some parts, you're able to bring back some guys as far as Green Bay was concerned. And the thought always being, we are going to get it right with these guys. But they've looked everything but that. They've gotten kind of worse as the season's progressed. This Green Bay team, and this is the most egregious thing of all of them right here, 0-6 on third down, 0-1 on fourth. Can't convert a fucking first down. The best conversion stat that they had was probably the amount of penalty. They got 4 first downs on penalties off of Washington, gifting them first downs. But they couldn't run for them, and they could kind of pass for them, but not frequently enough. Just a team that really couldn't keep the ball consistently going, was kind of gifted some first downs off penalties. The time of possession, you're talking about 37 minutes for Washington to 23 for Green Bay. How do you resolve that? You probably run the ball a few fucking times. Might help you out. Might allow your defense to stay off the field and allow you know, Taylor Heineke not to have a decent game against you. Just kind of just a myriad of mistakes basically from Green Bay. It seems like from a game plan standpoint, just amazing that you throw 35 times, you rush it 12. Why?
The most egregious one to me is well, there's the two most egregious ones. The third quarter, 3rd and 2, where you throw to Romeo Dobbs, however the hell you say his name with the weird U in it.
Yeah.
Fucking, you have Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones does something really well, which is fall forward. And he's pretty big.
Yeah.
If he falls forward, it's probably a yard or two. Okay. 3rd and 2, you weren't necessarily confident in Aaron Jones' ability to get 2 yards falling forward. I don't know why, but you're not. Fine. 4th quarter, 4th and 1. Aaron Jones incomplete to Romeo Dubes. Are you kidding me? 1 yard! Aaron Jones!
Yeah.
They need to take the playbook out of Aaron Rodgers' hands like yesterday. Because Aaron Rodgers is calling his own plays right now. And boy, it's obvious to tell. He wants to throw the ball a lot.
Yeah, but at this point, like, because he doesn't have, like, maybe the consistency, the reliability, or the confidence in that receiving core, a lot of his passes are behind the line of scrimmage. It's check down Charlie all over the place for him. And that's why you're throwing the ball 35 times, completing 23. You're not even putting up 200 yards. It's absurd. Taylor Heineke outthrew you in this game. That's absurd. And the difference being is they actually have like kind of similar numbers: 35 for 23 for Rodgers, 33 for 20 for Heineke, 2 touchdowns apiece and almost 200 yards apiece. The opposite, the whole thing being, Washington actually will run the goddamn ball, and they'll keep running it.
They got a nice thing going with Robinson Jr. and Gibson.
Right.
I think getting back Brian Robinson Jr. has helped out that team a lot.
And you always have those options as far as, because I think they love to run those sweeps and that sort of thing. You have your Curtis Samuels, you have your Scary Terrys, that sort of thing. Yeah. Like, they'll find the times to get the ball into their weapons' hands, because you have them in a Gibson, in a McLaurin, in a Sammy. You have Aaron Jones on the other side, but who the fuck else do you have, really, as far as the Packers are concerned? I like A.J. Dillon. I do. They don't.
They don't, for some reason.
Sammy Watkins, yeah, a little bit, but he gets dinged up like every other fucking game, basically, so you can't rely on him.
You know what other weapon they have that they never use? Robert Tonyan.
I like Tonyan, but like he's like stereotypical tight, and like, yeah, he'll get his 4 or 5, but they don't want to utilize it any more than that.
That's what I mean, though.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so you're having trouble with these receivers.
Right.
Yet you're throwing the ball 35 times, which means you're probably throwing a lot on 1st and 2nd down. You know what a great pickup is on 1st and 2nd down? 5-6 yards. Have Tonyan sit right here, hit him in the chest for 6. Boom. Makes your life a whole lot easier.
But yeah, I mean, I think, too, kind of the point and the thought that, these guys aren't on the same page together. I mean, you brought up Dubes. Yeah. 4 targets, not a catch.
Not a catch. Dropped like 2 or 3 of them, too. Now, mind you, I heard this, and I've watched his drops. There was a lot of, I'm diving for this ball that was 8 yards overthrown, and I got my fingertips on it, and it's a drop.
Hey, if you get your hands on it, you should catch it. That's the old bastard coach mentality right there.
It's not like he's dropping ones that are in his bread basket. He's tried everything he can to get to these balls, but I don't know. I don't get it. Yeah. I don't get how you have Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, 2 very good running backs.
Yeah.
Don't use them.
Here's another couple teams. Let's anything else you want to hit on about that game? Let's move on to the next one because we talked about one of these teams. We actually talked about both these teams over a little bit already, and talk about not knowing what the hell's going on. Tampa Bay going into Carolina, and yeah, we already brought it up. All you get is that suck up field goal at the very end, not to make it an absolute shutout. But PJ Walker doing PJ Walker things. Dude just wins games apparently, and yeah, the Panthers beating their division rival in the Bucks there. This one, the more egregious one for me, as far as the it looked bad last night for Tom. This one's worse in the way that obviously like score wise, no doubt, and that's pretty easy to see. It's the again, you're talking about damn near 50 passes. The man's not getting any touchdowns on these passes. None. And
Also, 32 completions for 290 isn't necessarily the greatest yards per pass average either.
Not at all, exactly. It's just like and you know, you're missing, 6 missed passes to Mike Evans, 6 missed passes to Chris Godwin. Yeah, this was this. You look at this and then what happened last night, and you're like, yeah, the accuracy is not there at all for Brady right now. And this is the funny thing about Brady, is that he's proven people wrong before. There's been multiple times throughout his career where it's like, man, Brady should end up. I thought it after the 2019 playoffs when they lost, the Pats lost to the Titans.
Yeah.
And Brady didn't look good in that one. I'm like, yeah, it's about time. Going to the sunset, dude. You did enough. Best ever. One of the best ever, whatever, however you want to feel about it as far as the quarterback's concerned. But he kept going and kind of proved that, okay, yeah, maybe it's not. Because then, obviously, Tampa Bay winning a fucking...
Super Bowl next year.
All right. Kind of make me eat it, that sort of thing. It's got to be time, though, dude. 45, you can't fucking hit this broadside of a barn right now. And this team looks just... It's bad. Like, playoff Lenny is a long time away, and you won't even see the fucking playoffs the way they're playing right now. There won't be a playoff Lenny by the time. Fournette's not doing shit for you. You can't hit a fucking pass. Your defense is kind of holding it together, but they gave up 21 points to the goddamn PJ Walker-led Carolina Panthers. Good night. It's bad right now for this Bucks team.
I said all I needed to say about this game when I said that they lost to PJ Walker, Deontay Foreman, and Chuba Hubbard.
Yeah. Love to see it.
That's awful. Shouts out Deontay Foreman.
Yeah.
But
we'll be seeing a lot more of The Rock in their upcoming game here. But yeah, that's all we really need to hit on. Just a disappointing one right there.
I got nothing else to say.
Let's keep it moving. And this is probably the most surprising team, as far as one of the good teams, potentially, of the season. The New York Giants going to Jacksonville and taking out the Jags 23-17, getting a nice 10 points there in the fourth to actually seal this one up. At this point, how do you feel, Craig, about this Giants team? Are they for real?
100%.
Yeah?
100% they're for real. It's the thing that I think a lot of people are forgetting too is they're doing this without like 3 of their top receivers were hurt at one point in time, like simultaneously.
Yeah,
right.
They just got rid of one,
and then they traded Kadarius Toney because they're like,
he ain't doing shit,
healthy, dude. Get out of here. We'll keep going with Wan'Dale Robinson. Thank you very much.
Insane. Insane. Darius Slayton, Wan'Dale Robinson. I love it.
Daniel Jones ran for $107.
He is your 5th leading rusher, I believe, in the league right now.
Is he comeback player of the year?
Yeah. If not his teammate Quads, right?
Quads could be it too.
We brought this up. This was 2 weeks ago now.
Yeah.
Dable got the boys playing. Like, this team does not look like they should look right now with the squad that they have. Their defense is absolutely savage. And again, you're talking about the capitalization. They don't make the fucking mistakes,
Nope.
and they take advantage of mistakes
Yep.
every time, it seems like. They win
They
games they should not have won, but it's like, you let me have it. You kept me in here. And
yeah.
we'll take it.
Brian Dabble looked at the NFL this year and went, I think everybody sucks. What I'm gonna do is let everybody suck and just not make mistakes. It's incredible how often this team is losing, and it's like, okay, they're finally getting caught by someone. And then they just watch them self-destruct in front of them and go, we will take this win. Thank you very much.
Right.
On to next week.
Right.
It's the wildest thing. They just find ways to stick around in games where they're not really playing particularly. Like, Daniel Jones started out this game horribly. And it looked like, okay.
Yeah. Danny Dimes turns
Danny
into a nickel.
Back.
Yeah.
And they stuck around, and Dabble stuck with the game plan, and they don't make mistakes. They don't beat themselves. They force teams to go into New York, or to play New York on the road in this case, and beat the Giants, right? There's so many teams this year. We talked about it. We've talked about it before with the Ravens, and we've talked about it with the Raiders. Are I think the most egregious case of a team like this. But you've got the Bucks do it all the time. Teams beat them. The Jaguars did it this week, right? Teams beat themselves. The Giants don't do that. You need to beat the Giants because they will not beat themselves. They did it again.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, any team that can do that, any team that can go, you need to beat us. We will not actively beat ourselves. That's a real team. That's a team that needs to be considered a threat.
Well, here was the interesting thing, because I was able to actually keep up with this game a little bit more some of the others. This game, even into the second half of it, looked like the Giants were going to drop it.
Yeah.
And this is how it goes, basically. The second half opens up. They are leading 13-11. The Jags are able to just drive this ball down, put up a touchdown on them. First drive out of the second half, which is fine. Happens. Next drive, Giants are coming right back, driving down the field. Ends with a turnover on downs, a mistake they usually don't make. But they immediately get a 3-and-out. Still flip the field, basically still have it on their side. They get it a little further down, but still not a great drive. They punt it back. What do the Jags do? They make the same fucking mistake that the Giants make. They drive the ball down the field, looking pretty decent offense, turnover on downs. And it's like that pocket of plays, that could have worked out completely well for the Jags. It could have been another touchdown off of turnover on downs. Your team's up 10 all of a sudden on the Giants, and I don't feel like the Giants are a team that's going to make a crazy double-digit point comeback in the late third or fourth quarter, right? It's probably
their
not.
offense isn't set up to play from that far behind.
Not a lot of teams are, but I think the Giants especially, like, they want to be able to run the ball, control it, not make mistakes. Where do you have to make where's the biggest potential to make mistakes?
When you have
miss throws because you're having to throw down the field because you may need chunk plays. You can't get 4-yard carries all game. But they don't. They get the touchdown. They stop them again immediately, the Jags, for a 3-and-out. It's just like the defense just stepped right up for like 3 drives in a row, 3-and-outs left and right, and just took over this game at the end of it. And it's just like, it's such a Giants win right there. Even though they did make that one mistake, they took immediate advantage of the mistake when the other side decided to do the same damn thing. Like, no, we're okay. You turn it over on downs on us, touchdown. Now we're taking this lead back. Now we're getting another 3-and-out, getting another field goal, pile it on, and and then the play at the end of the game. Did you see that one? As far as Lawrence over the middle, damn yard out just enough. Bend don't break.
Yeah.
We just have to keep them out of the end zone. They could have a nice little 20-yard completion as long as it's not 21 and a touchdown. And that's what they did. And yeah, just a gritty win. This Jags team that we thought would be better than this. Unfortunately, they fall to what 2-5 now. So,
2-5.
you know,
They showed a glimpse early in the season where it's like, okay, they've made strides. I was still right. This team is ruining the can't miss prospect of all can't miss prospects. Fucking figure it out.
yeah, um, yeah. Simple as that. Let's keep it moving. Let's head up north to the AFC North. We already hit upon one of these teams because they played last night, but the Cleveland Browns going into Baltimore and losing one that they could have had potentially. Potentially, there was a lot of time there in the fourth quarter, just weren't able to get anything going across, and Baltimore was able to hold on for the win, 23-20. This one, yeah, this was from what I remember seeing on this one, I saw just a little bit, but it seemed like they used Lamar as much more of just like set run plays, very limited on the passing. Um, I'm not too sure how
Start
much.
that way.
Yeah,
It didn't start that way. They were willing to let him throw the ball, but he couldn't hit anybody,
yeah,
right?
seven
And so
incompletions.
they adjusted, and I give him a lot of credit for that. Justin Tucker's very good. Like there, you know, when you're watching Brady at quarterback in his prime, you're going, okay, we are clearly watching an all-time great. I feel like people might be taking for granted just how good Justin Tucker is. Like, maybe not so much anymore. There was a point in time, though, where it's like Justin Tucker being so fucking good at being an NFL kicker was just like a thing that we all took for granted. he is he may be the best ever as far as the kicker goes. He's definitely in the conversation. He It's another game Baltimore probably shouldn't have won that Justin Tucker won them.
Right.
They couldn't move the ball much, and all they needed to do was get across midfield, and Justin Tucker was going to hit it.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny. I mean, I think he's definitely separated himself as like the best kicker in the league. Basically, that's
Yeah,
how
oh
you
yeah.
gotta kind of feel about Tucker. Um, I mean, it's I like other guys, of course, across the league. I love my Robbie Gold, even my Greg Zerlines and shit like that. But it's the you just have that feeling. Granted, he missed a kick last night, did Justin Tucker, but yeah, I mean
And the
he
fact that we have to bring that up, I think, really speaks to how good he is.
right. I'm like, but he missed one. But yeah, that's probably like one of two that he'll maybe miss this year, right?
He
Uh,
is 16 of 18, and when you consider the amount of distance they've had to put on Justin Tucker's kicks,
right.
fuck me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing the stat line for Brissett, not terrible. Is there anything you were able to catch from this game? Unfortunately, yeah, this being the fourth loss in a row for this Browns team. Um, yeah, nothing I'm too aware of as far as how this game shook out. Looks like lots of fumbles. Yeah, so kind of rough on that end for Cleveland.
Yeah, this was low on my watch list of the morning games, I'm not gonna lie. So I caught bits and pieces of it when other games where nothing was happening and I was in the red zone and they were like, ah, look, something's finally happening in this game.
Right.
Um, the scoreline makes it look like such a better game than it was. Nick Chubb is very good.
Right.
I don't think we need to be surprised at that anymore, but that's another good game from Nick Chubb. Honestly, I don't know if Deshaun Watson helps this Browns team enough because their issues are much larger. Also, I do wonder if there's a general issue with picking up all of the worst human beings in the NFL, if that creates an atmosphere issue in the locker room. Because they got like 5 or 6 of them now who's just like, generally scumbags. Like, if I need to bring up why, like, Kareem Hunt is a scumbag, then you obviously haven't been following Kareem Hunt that long,
Yeah.
right? Like, despite everybody's love of Miles Garrett, he did actively try to butcher somebody with their own helmet in a in a professional football game. Like, it feels like they just have all of the word. Like, remember the Raiders circa the early 2000s
Oh
when,
yeah.
like, the second you committed a crime, you went to the Raiders? That feels like kind of where the Browns are going now.
Yeah.
And I wonder how that locker room is like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of funny because I think for everything, like players are just players to an extent. So it's a lot of these guys, it's just kind of where they ended up, right?
Yep.
And uh, you know, you can't help but feel bad for the quality players at least. Who knows personality wise, but like a Nick Chubb, that sort of thing,
Yeah.
guy that hasn't done anything clearly wrong
No.
from what I know, but is clearly one of your most talented guys, and is probably just going to waste away at this place. I don't have much confidence in the guy who we know is kind of a scumbag and like a Deshaun Watson. I don't have much confidence in him coming back. I don't think he's going to move the needle too much as far as this team doing well, right? Um, so yeah, I think it's a there's certainly an easy team to root against. That's for damn sure, right? It's
Yeah,
just
they
like
certainly make it hard to like him.
right. The only ones who praise that as far as some of the moves they made were the Browns fans
Yep.
because they just want to see wins, and I perhaps that was it was always interesting because that Raiders persona. I mean, that shit started in the '90s over
Yeah.
here. As far as they were the thugs, and NWA and like that whole linking to that as far as like the music scene, they really put that like it basically became their persona for a good like 15 fucking years there or so, from like the mid 90s into like the 2010 or that sort of thing, and still kind of hung around with some of that. I mean, even now, you're talking about um, you know not even their own fault, but then you have like the situations like your Henry Ruggs and all that
Yeah.
shit that just happened to him, and it's like, god damn, they fucking moved to
Damon
Vegas and
Arnett.
they can't get away from it, right? Josh Jacobs, and I know that was like a legal thing, and that kind of has now more or less been resolved. Didn't look as bad maybe for Jacobs as it did earlier
Yeah, the
on, but
Josh
that was
Jacobs
another
one.
thing, right? Like,
Yeah, the
what the
Josh
fuck,
Jacobs
man?
one
Another thing, like,
didn't turn out to be nearly as much as
but
it
then they
sounded like it was.
they had
But
their
there was the Damon Arnett thing as well, where he
yeah.
did threaten to murder people over social media.
But then you had like the weird other like good feel story with them, right?
Yeah,
With like Carl Nassib, right? And your
yeah,
first openly gay player playing for the Raiders too. And
yeah,
like it just like the dichotomy, the they don't have that anymore.
yeah.
Cleveland is that
Cleveland,
bad shitty team
and they
now,
seem to actively
basically.
find them.
Yeah.
Like we mentioned with the Raiders ones, the Ruggs and Arnett ones, those are more unlucky. These were guys who didn't have any flags before you picked them up. Now
Right.
all of a sudden they're red flag factories.
Yeah.
That's not on the team. Uh, the Browns seem to search out the red flag factories and just hoard them.
Think about this. I mean, and granted, this probably wouldn't have exactly gone down like this because money tied up and that sort of thing. But hypothetically, I just got I thought about this. What if this fucking team right now, the Raiders, if they had Henry Ruggs, Devontae Adams, Darren Waller, Josh Jacobs, like
That would be disgusting.
that's like you got Ruggs that could stretch the field as much as anybody. You got big body and Devontae Adams who can't like, sheesh, like
That'd be disgusting.
that's a brutal, and that's not even bringing up Renfro, Hunter
Yeah,
Renfro, who
Hunter
is
Renfrow.
it was your great slot receiver. That's your third, fourth option potentially on
Yeah,
some plays. That's disgusting.
yeah.
Yeah, but all hypotheticals. And we were just talking about the Browns game, but fuck them. We want to talk about the Raiders anyways. Then And yeah, that game, yeah, they take an L there against the Ravens, who, yeah, should beat the Browns.
You should beat the
More
Browns.
than that, but
They
again, you
should
said
look
that
better against the
the
Browns.
score didn't tell the whole story as well. They definitely were the better team
They
there.
were the
Just
better team,
yeah,
but yeah, I do worry about Lamar's accuracy, uh, which I don't remember if it was always this big of an issue, but it feels like a really big issue now.
I think it's just like certain plays they really try to draw it up to where like he is throwing the ball. You're not escaping out, that sort of thing. It
Yeah,
needs to stay within the pocket. So they might be trying to work that more in, but obviously they still have the stuff drawn up for him to be able to escape out as well.
be able
And I
to.
think you're only doing yourself a favor. You need to get that running game established outside of him, though. I think that's only going to help. You got to start working that bootleg, really help out the guy, get him into open space so he can get guys down the field, look downfield, have his own pocket essentially.
Yeah,
But yeah, uh, I think generally, uh, yeah, that's always been a little bit of an issue with him, right? Just not quite on point all the time. But
yeah.
you kind of take that with how explosive he can be. Let's hit on to a team that has no explosiveness and one of probably, I mean, one of the two New York teams that is surprising everybody this year. The New York Jets going into Denver. This one, this is Denver football now. Unfortunately, 16-9 they lose at home. Um,
Broncos country.
yeah,
That's right.
you get the, is it Ripien,
Brett Rippin.
Rippin? Yeah. You have him slinging the ball 46 times. I know you don't really love Melvin Gordon and the fact that you have to start going to this guy now, but good God, why the hell is this guy throwing the ball 46 times for you? For the Broncos in a game that was decided by 7 points. It's kind of insane.
I yeah. I mean, listen, what can we say about the Broncos that hasn't already been said? I think the real story in this game is the injury to Brees Hall,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
It's the yeah. Fucking shame.
That sucks because he was having such an
Yeah.
unbelievable rookie season,
Yeah.
and
Definitely
go
rookie of
down
the
like that
year.
sucks. Props to the Jets, though. And I never, as in my life, thought I would say props to the Jets on this. But they recognize, okay, Brees Hall's down. We need somebody back there. They go out and they get Brian Robinson for pennies on the dollar,
Yeah.
who is a really solid. Like, Brian Robinson is really good, but obviously the Jaguars like Etienne.
Yes.
Can't blame him for that. Travis Etienne is also very good.
Oh yeah, we didn't bring up ATN in that game, dude. He ran his ass off. Anyways.
So, um, so you lose Brees Hall. That's awful. You bring in Brian Robinson, and all of a sudden this offense doesn't lose too much of a step. You still get an explosive back in Robinson, who is not that far removed from 1,000-yard rushing season. He comes in with Michael Carter. That's a really sharp job by Jets brass to go. No missteps. We're not waiting on this. We know Brees Hall's done. Let's go out and grab the best guy we can. And they ended up getting him for like a 6th-round pick. Solid business for the Jets there.
Yeah.
Sauce Gardner, also, by the way, unbelievably talented.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's kind of the thing. I mean that's what's been really nice for the Jets. If you take a look, I mean you're talking about Hall being, your running back right there,
Yep.
rookie year. Sauce, like absolute lockdown corner,
Yeah.
rookie. Even guys that you just picked up recently. You have an extremely still young Quinn Williams. That's
Yeah.
an anchor on your defense. I like guy I brought up before. I love guys like Franklin Myers and guys like C.J. Mosley will still have some time on this squad. Like they got some pieces. This team has the things to work off of. You got to get a little bit more out of Zach Wilson right now. Obviously, it's amazing that I like Garrett Wilson, but the lack of targets that you're able to get to guys like a Corey Davis and Elijah Moore, a CJ Uzama, our boy,
Our
Like
boys
we need to get some targets to those guys. All right, Wilson. But otherwise, yeah, Robinson and Michael Carter. He hasn't had any outstanding numbers, but he has been the guy back there for them before. So I like him pairing up with James Robinson right now. I think that will be a nice little 1-2 for what's going to have to serve him for the rest of this year. Unfortunately, it's really a shame because I think this team. I don't know about wins by replacement, that sort of thing, but I gotta imagine they're really gonna miss that guy back there for some of these games coming up.
Yeah. Yeah, you would imagine losing Brees Hall really hurts an offense that was already not producing at a high cliff, but what they were producing was going through Brees Hall.
Yeah, but I mean this team is going to uh they're still gonna get it done on the defensive end right now.
100%.
Love their defense as bringing up their stuff before. I mean, yeah, uh, Sauce gets the attention there, but you get DJ Reed Jr. here. 3 pass deflections in that game. Like he's getting in there, preventing catches. Lamarcus Joyner, an old kind of crafty vet that's back there at safety for him. I think he got dinged up in this game. I think he's questionable for his next one. Even old boys like good old Solomon Thomas, a transplant from the Niners, able to work within the interior of this line along with Sheldon Rankins, and yeah, love what this team does, and I think they'll be fine. They're great, obviously. They're a 5-2 team right now. One of all of what 2-3 teams in the AFC right now with that kind of record. Buffalo,
Bills,
Chiefs, them.
Jets. I think that's it. I think every team has at least. Oh, the Titans are only a 2-loss team as well.
Okay, 2 losses, 4 wins, right? They had a bye.
Yeah, they've already had their bye.
So yeah, yeah, we'll see for these guys, but yeah, and Denver is trash.
Right. Denver is bad.
Yes.
Broncos country. Let's ride.
That's right. And if you didn't hear from other sports shows, the hilarious story of on the way back or on the way back from this trip or whatever, we got fucking Wilson who's doing high steps in the aisle. It's an 8-hour fucking flight.
For 4 hours, apparently.
I hate that, dude. I just know how I am. I'm like, and this was a great point. I saw this on McAfee's show. I think AJ Hawk brought this up. I think multiple of them brought this up. Basically, the idea is like, Russell probably, this isn't anything new probably for Russell Wilson. He does all sorts of weird shit, it seems like. But
like
that's
a weird dude.
It's great when you're winning. You could you accept it. You're like, all right, do your thing. If you're fucking losing and you're doing high steps for 4 hours on an 8-hour flight, sit your ass down. It's not helping us at all, obviously.
Yeah.
Stop fucking not throwing the ball accurately. Is that helping you get the ball down the field? Watch some more tape, Russ.
Sit down, eat a fucking Danger Witch, and relax, okay?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, just a fun team to see do. God damn, they're bad. Amazing that they picked up a win against the Niners. It's so bad. Oh, it's so bad. They're one of the 2 wins they have. All right. We'll keep it moving, though. Let's go to a 1-win team and a 2-win team. The Houston Texans going into Vegas. Vegas able to come back there in the fourth, put up 21 points, 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter there to secure this one. But Davis Mills, a surprisingly, I guess he has had a good amount of attempts in previous games. But yeah, I was a little surprised in this one. This team's identity, what it seemed like, at least in the preseason, the stuff that I was watching, I figured they'd be very 50-50 as far as their distribution. They have been in some games, but it seems like it's not quite working out for them. And they had Mills slinging the rock all over the place here for him.
To be fair, I thought he looked decent.
Yeah.
I didn't think he looked awful. Now, mind you, this Vegas Raiders pass defense is shambolic, but I thought he looked decent. Like
Yeah.
we've talked about General Mills before, right? Obviously, uh, I thought he was horrendous at the start of last season. Really picked it up to look like he was a decent quarterback, and has been pretty bad to start this year. Whatever you're doing's not working. So maybe letting General Mills just sling the ball around could be helpful on all sides. The issue with that is you don't have wide receivers. You have Brandon Cooks, who is good, but let's face it, is a at best number 2 option.
Yeah.
Nico Collins. If you just said who is Nico Collins, you are correct. Uh, I've always said I like Chris Moore, but as a guy who's like a spot catcher, like they don't have the wide receivers to do it.
Right.
Um, which is a shame because that's not Davis Mills' fault, right? But it's the fact. You know who really looks stupid at the end of this game? The Las Vegas Raiders management team. Not necessarily for anything that happened on the field, but for the fact that they turned down that Josh Jacobs 5th-year option. Oh boy, I hope you are ready to pay out the wazoo for Josh Jacobs. My God, he's going off.
Yeah. I don't. I had to take a look at their financials. Honestly, the way that has been going for them as of late, I don't know. Because, I mean, obviously, they had the Chandler Jones, Devontae.
Yeah. Ruckusin, I think they gave a decent amount of money
They're
too.
paying some guys. I think they even, like, it's only a year or two out from when they re-upped Carr, right?
Yeah. Uh,
I
Max
don't.
Crosby, I think, is making a good chunk of change as well.
Yeah, and that's kind of the. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you're able to pick up because I know they loved Zamir White. That was kind of the idea in the preseason. At least that was kind of some pundits were talking about it, is that
Yeah.
the idea that they were ready to have Josh Jacobs start downplaying his role. They really liked this young kid that they brought in. And yeah, that's why they didn't pick up the 5th-year option. They're gonna move on. But yeah, I mean, at this point, he's your best offensive player. He's probably your best player on the team right now, as far as everything's concerned. You're not getting the production from the guys that you paid. I mean, you said they're kind of shambolic. You bring in Chandler Jones opposite of Max Crosby, and you think you're gonna get some shit done as far as your pass rush is concerned. They
Yeah.
are they're not good, and they can't get uh, uh, very many conversions on picks either. They got one in this game for a touchdown, um, and yeah, they got to be thankful for that. But this team doesn't get turnovers typically either, so they just kind of they're finding out that maybe we have to value Josh Jacobs a little bit more. If they have any ability to, I suppose they should pay him, but I don't know if they can.
He has had one game this year where his average was less than 5 yards a carry. He's just torching defenses.
Right.
And yeah, uh, fuck. Have fun finding the money to pay him.
Yeah.
It's, yeah, I don't know. They're gonna that turning down that 5th-year option. Like, I get that they were like, oh man, Zamir White's gonna be really good, but like, did you watch Zamir White at Georgia? He was good, but nothing about him screamed game-breaking NFL player. Why did you all of a sudden think that was gonna change?
Training camp and shit. I don't know. Yeah, sometimes you just fall in love. I don't know.
You see some of the good stuff, and you're like,
Yeah.
he's the guy, and you just
Hey,
ignore the other stuff.
let's move on to this next game. Actually, you talked about seeing the good stuff. Maybe some rose-colored glasses of sorts. That's what I feel about the LA Chargers right now. Because what is this team anymore? I have no idea because they just got stomped by the Seattle Seahawks, 37-23 in that game. This team still is a winning team. Both teams at 4-3 at the end of this one, but I mean, this is a Chargers team that you're going out against Geno Smith, and you feeling like you should do something. Herbert not quite looking as himself, and I will bring up one more point. Gotta say, our boy Craig here kind of nailed it with our boy Kenneth Walker III. Gotta
I,
say.
listen, I loved him at Michigan State. Absolutely loved him at Michigan State. And it was the same thing at Michigan State. He's not a two running back system guy. He's not a guy who's going to want the ball 10, 11 times a game and going to get you the average. He wants the ball 20 to 25 times a game. And he will run the brakes off of teams. He is your Jonathan Taylor. He is your Derrick Henry, where the more you give him the ball, the better he is. And boy, did he look good against the Chargers. And this is a Chargers run defense that isn't terrible. It's not great. But they do some things well defensively to stop the run. And Kenneth Walker just had a field day on him. And I expect him to keep doing it. This guy's going to just keep doing this. That injury to Rashad Penny, as tragic as it is to say, is the best thing that could have happened to the Seahawks backfield. Because it just opens up Kenneth Walker. I fully expect this to keep going all season. He is that guy. He loves being the guy who runs the ball all the time. I think it's good for the Seahawks, too. Geno was throwing the ball a little bit too much early in the season. He was having too many 40, 45 pass attempt games. And though Geno has certainly been shockingly good this year, I don't think you want to run your luck with Geno throwing the ball that much. 20 of 27 for 210 and a couple touchdowns, that's the stat line you want out of Geno Smith right there. I think we talked about the Giants and them being, I think this Seahawks team is real. I think this team is honestly just a pretty decent football team. Their defense needs to get better.
Yeah.
But if they can just play to average NFL defense, they're going to win some games. And I think I think it's a very fun matchup this week. Let's put it that way, between them and the Giants. Between two teams who at the start of the season looked like utter trash, but are amongst the real upper echelon of the NFC. And that's the most shocking thing I've ever said in my life.
I mean, I'm not fully sold on the Seahawks. Honestly, it's the defense, I think they certainly need to get better. I think the basically in the trenches, both sides, I think their offensive line needs a lot of help. But this is the thing, I do have to agree, how do you help that offensive line out a bit? By running the ball a little bit more. You start pushing guys instead of falling back, that sort of thing. You're able to keep them on their toes a little bit. Lanes open up. Spaces open up in the passing game, that sort of thing. That's the kind of game you want to see us for Seattle. You carry the ball 20 plus times, basically, a little bit over, whatever. You're throwing the ball 20 plus times, some a little bit over. And you keep it efficient. You're not making the mistakes. You're not committing the penalties either. I believe they were really good on that end. Actually, 7 penalties apiece for these teams. So actually, that's actually kind of bad. You don't want to have
very
that many
undisciplined games the whole way.
Yeah, so my mistake on that. But I mean, yeah, third down efficiency actually really good. 5 of 9 on third down. Like, you'll take that all day, every day. The one thing that was actually the most egregious. They did get 4 first downs on penalties by the Chargers. So the Chargers penalties, very costly, keeping drives alive. You probably, this game doesn't run away. This Seattle team, they really can't put up 37 points in games. They shouldn't be putting 37 points up in games. And you only get that through sustained drives that should have been punts. All of a sudden, the Seattle team only punted the ball once this entire game. So, like, you just have all those things working for you. Got to give them credit. Like, this is certainly better. They are the top of the NFC West right now, in a very surprising NFC West as far as how it's shaking out. I'm not sold on them, But I mean, you gotta love to see a prospect like that as far as Walker. Um,
Yeah.
that yeah, like that's gonna be a nice piece for you going forward. And honestly, like why not Geno Smith at the same time? Hell, you're
Yeah.
getting just enough out of him. Why the fuck not? I mean, everybody would kind of consider like, oh yeah, he had his time. He wasn't anything good with the Jets. Yeah, but who the fuck would have been good with the Jets back then anyway? Shit. So it's like, yeah, don't write that guy off.
If Kenneth Walker continues to be this guy in the NFL, which again, we have no reason to believe that he can't. His first game like this, 21 rushes for about 100 yards. Second game, 23 for 167. This is what the dude does. He did it all throughout college. We have no reason to believe he won't continue to do it. If he can be this guy, why can't Geno Smith do what Ryan Tannehill does? Of course he can.
Yeah.
Like,
And,
there's no way Geno Smith is not at least as talented, if not more, than Ryan Tannehill.
and you know what? Yeah. I'll correct myself. You know, I just don't. It doesn't feel like it with the Seattle team, but after this game, they're the fifth highest scoring
I was gonna
offense
say.
in the league. I'm like, well, okay, they've done it enough in and out. Like, I mean, 7 games, it's not the biggest sample size, but it's enough. You gotta give them more credit than that, I suppose. So, Seattle's
They're,
getting it done so far.
they have a sneaky good receiver room, even with DK Metcalf going down hurt, with guys like Goodwin, with guys like Lockett. I really like Will Disley as a tight end, right? Uh,
Yeah, Disley's,
they
yeah, no,
they have enough guys in that wide receiver room to get it done, and uh, also
sure.
the contributions from DJ Dallas. When you want that power back in there, if your power back can get you 5.8 a carry, that kind of contribution is going to help a lot too. Because that's all that DJ Dallas is for them, right? We're on 3rd and 1, we're going to give it to DJ Dallas. He was getting results out of it, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
I think this Seattle team is a tough out for anybody. And much like the Giants, they don't make a ton of mistakes. They do what they do well, and they win football games by it. Sometimes it's through incredible offensive output. Sometimes they let other teams shoot themselves in the foot. However it is, they're getting their wins. And in an NFC West right now that looks like it's kind of a toss-up, getting wins is the most important thing.
Yeah. And I really don't want to talk about this game. We'll go on to the next one. Now, we're talking about a team that you know this. Yeah, it would have been nice to have a win, but the way that they lost this one was kind of the worst way about it. Kansas City going into San Francisco and handling the Niners 44-23. Um, Let me give you the Homer perspective on this one. Let me give you the breakdown as I was watching this game because I caught this game about right at the end of the first quarter. So basically, once things started going wrong for the Niners,
I was gonna say, so basically
they
they're in the
open up
lead and they're
10-0. They
feeling
open up
good.
10-0. I see they're 10-0. I'm like, all right, here we go. And we sit down, and the Chiefs are driving. They put together a 10-yard or 10-play, 73-yard drive, actually within pretty quick time.
Yeah.
Bring it back. All right, it's the Chiefs. They're going to put up points. Exactly. And it was good. It was good back and forth, that sort of thing. Really ugly interception toward in the middle of the second quarter for the Niners. Just a absolute floater duck that it didn't get tipped, I believe, from what I remember seeing. It was just a really bad ball by Jimmy. But this game, I think the pivotal point for me when I think about it is a inability again, and actually I say a pivotal point, kind of a pivotal. It's what screwed the Niners multiple times. Is this team takes penalties, and they take penalties at the worst possible times. I think, let me take a look right now at the stats for it. I'm very surprised that the Chiefs only got one penalty for a first down. It felt like more than that, but essentially, um, I think it helped them out. A lot of like first and fives, a lot of short down situations that they were given because of the penalties that the Niners took. Niners took 10 penalties in this game for 80 yards. Less yards, oddly enough, than what the Chiefs gave up. They actually were penalized 8 times. But it's a just like they have not gotten that right. And they've been injured as hell. But it's just egregious errors too. It's just like bad offsides by guys that should know better. Even guys like Bosa making mistakes like that. It's just been kind of up and down for this team uh, with that sort of play. Should have been here. Should have been in this game throughout. They still had it within 5 into the fourth quarter there, but then they just immediately get driven on completely by the Chiefs, and it just never looked the same after that.
Yeah. In a vacuum, the Chiefs put up a big number and beat you. In a vacuum, I think you could look at that and go, they're going to do that to some teams. They're just that good. And you got a pissed off Chiefs team after losing that heartbreaker to Buffalo.
Yeah,
In a vacuum, you can leave that one alone. But it's coming off of that loss to the Falcons,
yeah.
right?
It's back to back really bad defensive performances, basically.
You drop one to the Falcons, where again, the Falcons offense, you bring up a good point. It was the Falcons offense that did it, right? Defensively, the Falcons played a decent game, but the Falcons are a pretty good defense. Marcus Mariota missed one pass, 13 of 14,
Yep.
right? Uh,
And
a team that didn't have Cordero Patterson, Caleb Huntley, Tyler Allgeier, and Marcus Mariota were the ones doing the damage on the ground.
right.
And they couldn't stop him.
And again, in that Falcons game, you probably have about 3 or 4 more incompletions for Mariota, defensive holding, and PI. At least 2 defensive holdings and a PI in that game at the worst
one,
possible times. These are
yeah,
like third downs and shit.
and there was one in particular against Drake London that just didn't need to happen. Like you had the route covered, and you just reach around and kind of grab him on the shoulder and give him a little bit of a tug as he's coming across, and it's like you didn't need to do that. He was on his route. You were in a good spot. Why are you grabbing his shoulder like that? Like just
Yeah.
stay with them.
It's these. I would say like it's kind of they're really borderline calls like some of these, but you can't. Yeah, you can't make those kind of plays. Because it will go your way and it won't go your way. And it feels like it's really not gone their way in some really pivotal moments, basically. Offensive side and defensive side. Brandon Ayuk in the Bears game, week 1, gets called for an offensive pass interference that almost is never called. He gets the arm kind of extended, but he doesn't really make contact at all with the dude, and he gets called for offensive PI. It's like just those sort of things have continuously happened for this team at the worst.
To be
moments.
fair, the Browns got screwed by a similarly bad call.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it happens to everybody, but it's like don't give them the opportunity to make those calls against you.
Yeah, like I said, in a vacuum, you'd look at this result and go, the Chiefs. They're just gonna do this to teams sometimes. But I think it's off of that loss to the Falcons where you go, okay, is this a bit more of a problem than we think?
They're one of the best teams in the NFC. They suck again. There's a lot of injuries again have absolutely plagued this team. This has been the most injured team for like the past 5 years, and it continues. It continues, and I think the interesting discussion I saw it like pivot off to this game because this was held on another turf field. I know the they played a game against the Giants like last year that dinged them up on like a turf field. I guess the discussion has been about turf fields lately. A lot of coaches have started to bring it up. It's started to be a discussion, I think, at the table as far as the stadiums that do have them. They have different, and not all turfs and that sort of thing are uniform. Granted, grass isn't necessarily going to be uniform either, but it's still grass. Like, it's just a better surface to play on. I know you've kind of known the difference as far as the, playing soccer on it. And you talked about you're beat up after you play on a turf field. Like, it's...
You should see again, I play soccer as a goalkeeper. You should see like my knees and legs
Yeah.
after having to make diving saves on turf, and my hips, right? Like
Yeah.
it's just cut the whole way down, and your ankles feel it every time you step because there's just not as much give, right? And you feel it every time. And yeah, it's rough, and I don't understand why at the highest level you need to be playing on turf,
Yeah.
right? Even in bad, like people will say, well, you got places where the weather's bad. Like New York, you can't have natural grass in the snow. Why not? There's soccer leagues in places like Finland and Sweden and Belarus where one of the rules of the top leagues is if you make it into the top league, you need to have A, natural grass, and B, undersurface heating. Heats up they have these fans under the surface, heats up the surface underneath so that the grass keeps growing properly even through the snow. It melts the snow as it lands on it.
Yeah. I mean,
These are the
yeah.
kind of things they can afford in smaller countries where they're not making where the owners aren't
Yeah.
billionaires, right? You can surely do it in New York.
Yeah.
And I can't off the top of my head think of another northern team that has turf, but I'm sure
Right.
there's a couple more. Like you can do it.
Yeah.
It's possible.
And it's something funny. It's a obviously, yeah, there's teams that have the grass, teams that have the turf, and then you have the differences in the turf itself. So you can't even get a reliable like feel on the ground when it's artificial field. Like that's not even regulated within an extent. It's like that's insane that
Oh,
that's
and
the
it
case.
it is
Um,
absolutely crazy when you play on like two different sets of turf where it's like one, everything's moving fast, right? Like everything on the turf moves. And then you'll go onto another set of turf where it's like everything's so much slower because the
yeah,
surface is harder, right? And it's like, how are these two pieces of turf so wildly different,
yeah,
right? And again, I can't imagine playing NFL, highest level of athleticism needed on turf. You'd get fucked up.
yeah. And it's it's what's been happening. It's for all the shit that I give about especially early on like the construction and the rush job that was Levi's for the Niners. Uh, I don't know if you ever saw like early games of the Niners playing that first season at Levi's, but grass is getting kicked up in chunks
Yeah.
on that field. They're having to resod continuously on that thing. And so it wasn't good that first season. But that was a dedication. They dedicated themselves to
Yeah.
actually having a grass field. They still wanted to field their guys on what wasn't, quite established yet as far as like a solid grass field, but they
Yeah.
stuck by it. Yeah, a lot. I think you just got a lot of owners going for whatever reason the cheap route, and it's only going to hurt your guys, right?
You would
Your
think.
team's having to play on that 8 games a
You look at
goddamn
the
year.
Giants wide receiver situation, and
Yeah, it's
you
like
might make an argument that that turf field isn't helping them any either.
right. It's just been a spell for injuries for a lot of teams. The most of which it seems to be the Niners. Anytime they play on turf field, seems like they
Yeah.
have multiple guys go down. But that's the NFL, baby. And let's keep it going. We talked enough about turf fields there. Let's keep it going with the wrap up of the final couple games here. This was, I believe, the Sunday night game. Pittsburgh going into Miami. Well, AFC showdown, a classic of sorts as far as the history of the NFL, where
Not
no
so much
team
the game.
scores in the second half. 16-10 is the final in this one. Kenny Pickett uh, gets Pittsburgh within three, and then they don't get any closer than that, and an entire half of football, no score. I didn't really have the ability to catch this one at all on Sunday night, as
I
much as I
am
wanted to.
so frustrated with the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. Like, I get that your offensive line is shit, and you can't really run the ball because of it. But you are asking a rookie behind one of the worst offensive lines in football to pass the ball 44 times
Yeah,
and then going, well, why is he throwing so many picks? I don't know. Maybe because he's running for his life, throwing the ball 44 times. You ever think of that?
Yeah, it's yeah. It only helps teams like to. The thing is that yeah, for some reason they throw more, like you're gonna throw out of it. No, if fucking the defense is expecting pass and they're just sitting back on this shit, and the
Yeah.
pass rusher is able to just get at it, that's not good.
No.
But and it's yeah, you got to run the ball a little bit more, help the kid out.
Yeah.
Exactly, I completely agree with you.
That's all I had from this game. Tua looked fine. But like that was it. That was the point for me. Like Kenny Pickett should not be throwing the ball more than 30 times a game.
Yeah,
At this point in his career, this is his third career start. Why is he throwing the ball 44 times?
yeah,
Why is this a common thing that he threw the ball 44 times? Right? Like he was on pace to do it in the last game too, and then he got hurt, and you bring in Trubisky, and Trubisky throws the ball 12. Like I get the fact that you don't trust Trubisky. I don't trust Trubisky either. But your game
yeah,
plan shouldn't vary that much between the two quarterbacks.
yeah. Um, yeah. I mean, we knew Pittsburgh was gonna have a tough time. And this was kind of a situation, even though the spread was pretty big. I felt like it's like the way that Miami's been very shaky as of late, and you know the drama and stuff they dealt with. They almost kind of caught them on an away game at the right time. They kept it close, obviously. If they could find a way to score a touchdown in the second half in any way, shape, or form, they win this game. So it's just amazing that yeah, again, you go away from the run so quickly when it could have won you the game here. You just need one drive. You need to put together one drive for this game. Um, but yeah, that's all right there
Yeah.
for that one. Um, and let's move on to the final game of the week. A This was hilarious. I did watch a good amount of this game,
Yeah.
luckily, and we got the Chicago Bears going into New England, and yeah, they did Mac Jones dirty on this one. I will say,
Did they?
I have no, and in this way only. I was watching this the broadcast,
Yeah.
and
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. The broadcast did him dirty.
it was like drive two, maybe, probably not. It was probably the first drive, and New England has the ball, and they have Mac Jones in the huddle and like coming into the setting up in the pocket, that sort of thing, and about to take the snap. But then like as they're like doing the setup for the play, they do the half screen shot to Zappy on the sideline. And like it was just like right away. And I know there was talk about like, all right, we're gonna get Zappy out there, potentially. Like there's good chance that it'll come out in this game. Um, but it was just like fucking ESPN knew. Like they were like, no, this kid's coming in eventually. Mac Jones gonna fuck this up. He threw what looked to be an absolute terrible air ball after kicking a dude in the nuts. But then I guess like if you took a look, there was like a wire from the cam or whatever that might have interfered. It kind of looks close. I
It
don't
does.
know.
ESPN says it wasn't.
Yes,
ESPN statement was like the wire was like 15 feet above the ball, and it's just an
it
optical
could,
illusion from the camera angle.
and it looks like it shifts, but it could shift due to movement itself because it's a
Yeah,
cam.
and the pass was a little bit wobbly coming out as it was, so
So,
that obviously can adjust trajectory in the air as well. It's hard
right.
to say. It's hard to say for sure. Um, Mac Jones is starting again this week.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I don't get it. Bailey Zappi's been clearly your better quarterback. If you want to win games, you go with him. I know the stat line wasn't great for him in this one. Um, the second interception's in garbage time. You're trying to force the ball into the deep play. I get
Mm-hmm.
that. But Mac Jones has been awful all year. Like he's never once looked like he was in a game. Really, he's been bad. I don't like going back to Jones. But they got to decide something soon. If you're going back to Mac Jones, It can't be first time he throws an interception is Bailey Zappi time. Stick with him. If he's your guy, he's your guy.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I understand like the Boo Birds were out and shit like that, and they felt the pressure because you did have a guy that was doing well, and then Zappy goes and like proves everybody right by that first
Yeah.
drive. He goes gets the touchdown. Boston, New England is popping off.
Yeah.
Like this is our boy. Like the sign came out. Like that dipshit bring a sign that said Zappy even though Mac Jones was starting. Like
Yep.
they
He
are
was ready for
fucking
it.
brutal. They are brutal out there. It's like if someone had a Jimmy G sign for ready when Trey Lance went down. Like just pop that out and was happy about it. Like, Jesus Christ, dude. Calm yourself. I know the Twitter is one thing, but goddamn, like, but yeah, it's Max showed this at times last year, right? He had
Yeah.
some bad games last year. It wasn't quite this bad, but obviously injury, that sort of thing. He's had this gap. I think you had a bad pocket of games, but you
2 touchdowns, 6 interceptions this
it's
year for
just
him.
that the way that pick looked, and that was like the quick hook. Like that's all it needed, that sort of thing. I think if that was just a standard pick, I don't think you pull it that quickly. But like they felt like he wasn't going to make the decisions correct. I don't exactly agree with it by any means. I think I agree with you, and you put him out there. I think you let him go at least like two three quarter, three
Yeah.
quarters, yeah.
If he's your guy, you got to give him at least the
If
half.
he's not injured. If he's
Yeah.
clearly still feeling an injury, absolutely. But that
Yeah.
wasn't the case in this one
No.
because they're going right back to him after that. So,
Yep.
yeah. I mean, the touchdown interception numbers, definitely the difference there. But, I mean, other than that, like, Zappy actually fumbles the ball a shitload for you, unfortunately, and not throwing the interceptions. He actually has almost as many turnovers, anyways, because he has the 3 fumble losses to go along with it. So it's really 7 turnovers to 6 between the two. Very similar yardage. You're not really moving the needle too much, but if you're going with Mac Jones and you feel like Mac Jones is your guy, you kind of have to go back to him at this point.
Yeah. And if you're going back to Mac Jones, you got to stick with Mac Jones.
Exactly.
It can't be short leashes. This is your guy, you go with him. If he's not your guy, you got to go with Bailey Zappi because he's been the better quarterback this season.
Yeah.
But if you believe he's your guy, and you're going back to him like he is your guy, you got to stick with him. As an aside, Bears play their best game of the season and then immediately go, "See you, Robert Quinn. Didn't need you anyways."
Right. Yeah.
They're still in a playoff race. Like
You're telling me I was kind of surprised by that one. I understand Robert Quinn
you're
hasn't been
3-4 in the NFC. Like,
yeah, he hasn't been producing like crazy good numbers as far as maybe sacks and that sort of thing, but it's still fucking Robert Quinn. I feel like
Robert
you should
Quinn.
probably stick that guy in. Here's the thing with the Pats too. I mean, this is a 3-4 team, obviously, on the worst side of 500, but right there, obviously, at it. And a very middling team across the board in general. Like, you don't have a too bad, you have a pretty good defense. You have a offense that's underperformed, but it's like right there. You still actually have a chance, obviously, with this team. As bad as it's been in some regards, as far as the Pats are concerned. Chicago, despite winning this game by so much, after that Robert Quinn, I'm like, yeah, you're not gonna really get this kind of game probably from your team as far as the number you put up on the scoreboard wise. It's weird to have them win and win so soundly and feel like their trajectory almost didn't get any better and probably worse.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Just
especially when you look
very
at their conference and their division, which outside of the Minnesota Vikings, nobody looks particularly good in it.
yeah. And
Probably some wins in there for you.
while New England's in the goddamn AFC East, and it still feels like they still have a little bit more of a chance.
Yeah, it still
Weirdly,
feels like they're kicking around,
in
despite the
a
fact that
same record.
the rest of their division is really good.
Sometimes your gut feel and it just I don't know, it does weird things to you.
Yeah.
But that is the NFL right there, and that's all of the Week 7 games right there. If you were wondering, let me go back to our stats right here. Your boy did pretty well.
Yeah,
Um,
I had a rough one.
and sorry, and this wasn't the last week. Actually, this is kind of awkward because this was from the week before. But just to bring up how well we did in the week prior, Week 6 games, I went 9-4. Craig didn't do too bad. Went 8-5. We're fucking killing it over here.
Okay, okay,
So
okay.
going into this week's picks, our overall right now 49-37-2 for your boy, 44-42-2 for our other boy. So
Both
not too
over
bad.
500.
Over 500 as we go into this week's picks.
Listen, with this year's NFL schedule, that's a bloody miracle how weird it's been.
And we'll jump right into it. Yeah, actually, it is kind of crazy how up and down this so many differing situations. And I gotta say, what's carried me is my weird obsession with picking New York
The
teams.
New York
How the
teams.
fuck did that work out? But it did, and we'll continue on into our wild picks of the week as we go into week 8 here. And we'll start off Denver at Jacksonville. This one's going to be over in London. It's going to be like a 6:30 kickoff my time on Sunday. Good luck
Yeah.
to me for catching any of this game. I'll probably catch like the last quarter. Um, Jacksonville getting -2.5 in their pseudo home across the Atlantic there. Who you got? 2-2-5 teams, by the way.
So, my immediate gut instinct on this was the Broncos should win. Um, in spite of their offense, their defense is really good, and this Jaguars team struggles when they can't put up points. That being said, Nathaniel Hackett's a fucking joke of a head coach. Uh, and for all you want to say about the Jaguars, they have some talent there. Travis Etienne looks pretty damn decent. Uh, Trevor Lawrence, great quarterback, despite the fact that you're ruining him. Give me the Jaguars.
ETN might be my favorite kind of like I had no idea who the fuck they were before this season
Yeah.
player. I love the way he runs. I don't know if you saw that there was a cool clip. It was on Twitter. I should have sent it to you. I think I was away or something like that. But basically, he has like a little bit different of a running style that I think it's like a little bit wider and he puts maybe a little bit more pressure on his ankles, but he can make a quick 45 or like 90-degree cut essentially. Just absolutely nasty as far as cut. I love the way he runs. I hope he's able to continue doing well. I like the Jags too. I hate Denver. I hate Denver this year. I really doubt. And you know what? In a way, Jacksonville 2-5. They've lost 4 in a row and all within a possession.
Yeah.
Kind of
Um,
tough. Denver has done the same, just about, except for the Vegas. That was 9 points. Denver feels so much worse though because it doesn't feel like they could even get the touchdown to get them back in the game or to win it. That's the difference between these two teams. I feel like Jacksonville could still do that. They almost did it. They were a yard short against the Giants. So I like
yeah.
Jacksonville.
Yeah, it's interesting because the Texans and Colts loss feel pretty bad on the Jaguars there, right? Because both those games feels like games that this team
Oh
should
yeah.
probably be good enough to win.
Houston was a stinker.
Um,
I couldn't believe that.
yeah. But then you look at the losses to the Eagles and the Giants, who are two really good teams, and you were right there with them. Feel like strong losses. The Broncos don't feel like they have a strong loss this year, or even a strong win for that matter. Like even their two wins, the Texans and Niners wins, felt like they got gifted those really
Yeah. Yeah, this could be a winless team, honestly.
easily,
Yeah.
easily.
They won the Niners game again, penalties. That was an 8 penalty game for the Niners. They gave them
And
some
it
easy ones.
still took the strangest safety you've ever seen to win the game.
Yeah,
Right? Like,
yeah, that one hurts. That one hurts. But yes, we've all got the Jags there.
yeah.
Let's keep it moving. Let's go. Ooh, yeah. All right, this is the one for first place in the NFC South. The Carolina Panthers going in to the dirty Georgia Atlanta to face off against the Falcons. Falcons sitting at 3-4. Carolina sitting at 2-5. Somehow they are playing for first place in this division. Atlanta getting a -4 here at home. Give me a quick second while you laugh your ass off. I'm going to use the restroom very quickly.
Okay. Let's break this down. You got the Carolina Panthers, who have traded every good player they have, except for DJ Moore. Free DJ Moore. Just let's just kill off what remaining hope this Panthers team has and trade DJ Moore. Um I imagine it's PJ Walker again. I haven't seen anything to say any different. There's two things in my mind about this game. There's the Falcons homer in me that wants to see them win, and that thinks that they're probably the better team from everything we've seen this year. And then there's the person in me that loves chaos. And if the Carolina Panthers were first place in the NFC South, what better chaos could there possibly be than the fucking Carolina Panthers being the best team in the NFC South? It I'm gonna go homer pick. I'm gonna go with the Falcons. The one time I didn't go with the homer pick, it came back and bit me on the ass. So we're gonna go with it. Um, but fuck, if the Panthers win, I can't even find it in myself to be upset about that.
Ugh.
I love the chaos.
Oh man. Yeah, this one's it's crazy to have this as a game for first place, but I mean at this point like for both these teams, you're put in this very weird situation, especially the Panthers. Are you still really in it? Like it's a I'll have first place, but for a week sort of thing. You got to feel potentially for this team. Like, do they have enough to keep this going? You got to feel not. Like this team's been pretty goddamn bad. There's a reason they only have 2 wins so far, right?
Yeah.
They've looked bad in their losses. They looked really good in a weird win against Tampa Bay, but like Tampa Bay is like surprise shit this year. My
What was their other? Oh, that weird Saints game. Yeah, they didn't even look that great in the run against the Saints.
They lost Chuba Hubbard for this game. He's gonna be out with an ankle injury.
Yeah, so it's all on Deontay Foreman.
Who I like
I don't
ish.
know if I like him if it's all on Deontay Foreman.
You brought up the AJ Terrell
Yeah,
injury
he is
earlier.
not gonna be back. Neither is
You still
neither is
have Casey Hayward
Hawkins.
out. You have Hawkins out with a
Yeah,
concussion, and Alford, who's questionable, probably will play. I imagine with the hamstring.
yeah.
We'll try to give it a go because they only have so much depth, but probably is going to be limited in that regard. Thing is, you're as much as I do like PJ Walker, is he playing this game or is this are they bringing back Baker's not in, right?
I think is this Darnold?
Oh yeah, Darnold might be back. No, Darnold's still on IR, I believe.
I they designated him for return last week,
Oh, okay, okay.
and I know he was back at practice.
God, what the hell is Sam talking?
Um,
This
no, I think this is still going to be PJ Walker. I
still
think,
gonna be PJ Walker.
yeah, I
Hmm.
think they have at least one more week.
Uh,
before Darnold's back.
that actually makes this tougher, but I'll go with Atlanta for this. Yeah. -4, I don't like that spread necessarily either.
I hate it. I
I hate,
hate it
I
because
kind
this
of hate
could
it.
so easily be 2017.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll go Falcons on this. I feel like the Falcons have in plenty of their games shown the ability, um, shown good ability as far as being able to stay with teams. Cincinnati, that was a terrible game for them. It started out
Yeah,
immediately bad and it just never got there. This team's not going to be able to come back 21-0 down. I feel
no.
no teams really are except maybe the Chiefs or like something like
The
that. The Bills,
Bills or something like that.
exactly.
They're probably not panicking, but yeah. No,
Um,
this is a front running team, but
yeah,
this is also a game where they can front run pretty easily, I think.
yeah. I mean, could have even won that game against Tampa Bay, and we would have talked
Yeah.
besides last week, team that could have won 4 straight right there. So yeah, I like Atlanta there. Uh, into the next one, and we got the Chicago Bears going into Dallas, face off against the Cowboys. Cowboys sitting at 5-2. Chicago Bears at 3-4. Dallas getting -10 here at home. Huge spread on this one. A really good team, obviously, in Dallas. A strangely good game for the Bears that they're coming off of against the Pats that we were just talking about. What you thinking for this one?
I so I was looking at this one, and in the back of my head I was thinking, did the Bears maybe find the way that this offense works, right? As Justin Fields maybe as a bit more of a runner in the offense, because he looked really strong running the ball. Um, I don't think I've seen enough from the Cowboys to think they can blow out this Bears team. This Bears defense is strong. They're not going to give up a ton of points. Uh, Dak didn't blow my mind last week. Um, I like the Bears to cover this. I think Dallas
Yeah.
still probably wins it, but I don't think they win it by double digits. I like the
This
Bears to cover this.
this is amazing. This is amazing. You know why? Because your boy Tony Pollard's probably gonna get the rock for this goddamn Cowboys offense. And now you pick the Bears? And now you pick the Bears? I am hammering the Cowboys. They're gonna fucking win this game by 20. No, I actually I am, in all honesty. It's a I do like that Tony Pollard's going to be carrying the rock more. I think that's going to help this team
Yes, it will help.
a lot. I think Dak, the second week back after an injury, is going to have a little bit more going for him. I worry about the you just had for the Bears. Both a tackle go out to concussion and a guard go out onto the IR due to a toe. They just lost 2 offensive linemen for him.
Yeah.
I really like the Cowboys being able to get home. I don't think Fields will be nearly as effective as far as being able to get outside the pocket. If that pocket's collapsing before he's able to even like utilize that, like I see this as a this is going to be a crash back to reality for this Bears team. They have
Fair.
3 wins. I'm not sold on them by any means. I think their defense is pretty good, but I think this offense for the Cowboys is going to show a little bit more than they have been showing. This isn't a team that should be only putting up 19 points a game. Um, that's pretty goddamn low for them. So
Yeah.
I
I don't
feel like they have the ability to put up better than 10. I'm not completely sold on it. I'm just kind of leaning that way. So I'm actually going Dallas on this one, oddly enough.
That's fair. I do think Pollard's going to put up like a buck 20. Like I think he's going off, but I don't I don't like this Cowboys passing offense. Something's wrong with it, and it might just be that they don't have the talent that they did last year. Obviously,
But
boy, it'd certainly be nice to have Amari Cooper right now,
I mean,
but
yeah. I mean, this team was just getting by. They were
Yeah.
just getting by with Cooper Rush, basically. And they did fine. I mean, you're talking about 5-2 team right now. They're kind
Yeah.
of not sitting super pretty. They're oddly enough in a division with absolute fucking killers everywhere, basically. As far as all of a sudden the Eagles you
What a
expected,
weird
the
conversation
fucking New
about
York
the
Giants
MVP.
out of absolutely nowhere. Um, yeah, just a strangely strong division. That's the way I would put it.
2 years
Um,
removed from tank division, and now all of a sudden everybody's it's a murderer's row.
even Washington's giving teams problems. What the hell's
Yeah.
going on? Right? This beat Green Bay for whatever fucking reason. It's just like wacky. But yeah, I like Dallas here. But
No, that's fair.
easy like this spread. I hated the number. I'm like 10 points. Jesus, I was expecting like 8. Like
Oh yeah.
okay, no
No,
10.
like this
Uh,
is like a 21-14, 21-13 kind of game in my head. I don't see the Cowboys putting up a ton of points, and the Bears will put up just enough to stay within this range.
yeah. Um, let's keep it moving, and we go into Ford Field, where the Detroit Dan Campbells go against the Miami Dolphins. Miami getting -3.5 here on the road. Detroit sitting at 1-5. Miami sitting at 4-3. Um, it's just kind of been all bad for Detroit. It's just been a very substantial pocket of kind of iffiness for Miami. How you feel about this game going forward for these squads?
Last time we did one of these, we called a massive upset that went horribly wrong.
Mm-hmm.
We both hopped on the Carolina Panthers. I'm gonna tell you right now, this is not that game. The Dolphins are gonna blitzkrieg the Lions. Uh, my like the Miami, by the way. Dolphins win this
Yeah,
easily.
yeah,
Um, the interesting bet for this game, I think a fun little prop bet here. I think Raheem Mostert goes over 100 in this one.
Oh, see, I would over 100. See, I think
Over 100.
I've been loving to see him come back. Um, he's had a couple games in a row for this Dolphins team to where he's kind of been the only standout piece for him. In that loss against Buffalo, I think he was the only guy that was really showing out. Could have been a lot worse without his contribution there. The Yeah, and then in their previous game against Pittsburgh, I think he still picked up like a decent 80 yards, 90 yards or so, I believe, in that one.
70. It was 79, but in only
Okay.
15 or 16 rushes.
Yeah.
So the yards per carry was actually quite good.
I would say I would have to go with you on this one, because you're talking about a Detroit team that is almost dead last in rushing against.
They
Give up
do not like
162.
stopping rushers, and Raheem Mostert looks like he's coming back into form. I think
Yeah.
this is the real breakout game for him.
I do. Uh, I feel this one's a little interesting in the fact that you still have a dinged up Xavier Howard. I know he's coming back. I know he's questionable for this game, but has he been constantly out with this groin injury? Is this something new now for him? I thought it was something else for him.
Okay, have you heard the Xavier Howard story that came out today?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so the reason why I had to laugh when he said groin injury is because he's getting sued by a woman for giving her an STD.
Oh.
Um,
Oh, so he just has like the clap and he's just fucking like he's
well,
just
it's an
chafing
incurable
on his
one, so it's
routes.
something bad.
Okay. Oh. Well, yeah.
He's got like the herpely herples or something like that.
Oh my god.
But that um that's
Jesus
why when he's
Christ.
like groin injury, I was like, oh fuck. He had to deal with some with an outbreak.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just coming back. The scary thing about this game is actually DeAndre Swift is going to be back for the Lions,
Right.
right? And this Lions team, as DeAndre Swift goes, they go. So that was the little bit scary part for me, but this Lions defense is going to bend for 40 plus, and I don't think the Dolphins defense will. Like,
Yeah.
this is exactly the kind of game you want Tua to have back, right? Against
Yeah.
this Lions defense, Waddle and Hill are going to have big games, you'd imagine.
Yeah.
I almost
Exactly.
considered I almost considered starting him in fantasy this week over Josh Allen, just because he's playing the Lions. Um,
It's a good pick. Anytime you see that, versus or at right below
yeah,
your player, you're like, and that's a defense that's probably going to give it for you. Um, Interesting thing that I'm a little worried about for this Dolphins team though. Obviously, their offense has definitely slowed down. You're talking about 15, 17, 16, and 16 points put up in their last 4 games. And only 21 points in a win against Buffalo in their last 5. So this is a team that hasn't scored over 21 points uh, since like week 2 of the season, right? Obviously, a lot of shakeup there as far as how this team has uh, you know their quarterback situation, concussion protocol, all the fucking drama. I mean, at multiple levels for him. But um, yeah, I do like Miami as well. Let's make that clear. But yeah,
yeah,
exactly. You have to figure. You have to put things like DeAndre Swift coming back for this Detroit Lions team into perspective. And it's like I like Jamal Williams, and I think he did good in replacement for the time he was there. But
he's not DeAndre Swift.
exactly, and this is a team that even though they lost the game, you're talking about losses against Minnesota and Seattle, where they were right there. And this team doesn't look nearly as bad as they did against New England and Dallas if they have the same style of offense.
Yeah,
You guys take it out of Jared Goff's hands, put it in DeAndre Swift's.
exactly.
Simple as that. But we'll take Miami on this one. Talking about that Minnesota team that I brought up that Detroit barely lost to, let's go on to the next game. The Arizona Cardinals going into Minnesota to face off against the Vikings. Vikings getting -3.5 on this one. Vikings sitting at 5-1. Cardinals coming off that win against the Saints brought them up to 3-4. I think right now we're talking about still an out James Conner for the Cards. Um, Thought there was something significant. Oh, okay. Yeah, Jonathan Bullard. Yeah, questionable with
Yeah,
the illness. So, yeah, that's about it for Vikings. Vikings, probably the second healthiest team in the league right there, based on that injury report. Yeah, this one didn't take me long.
nope.
Just the feeling. I know they came off, they put up a bunch of fucking points against New Orleans. I have no real belief in this Arizona Cardinal team. They got a lot of short fields. They got a lot of lucky, just like fortunate stuff there to even be able to put up that number. Minnesota has been very surprisingly good to me, or for to me. But it's a, um, it'll be interesting to see what they could like. I still don't believe in Kirk Cousins that much, but he's obviously shown it at this point. So I do like Minnesota in this one.
This one was easy for me. Minnesota all the way.
Yeah.
Um, this Cardinals defense has to cover Justin Jefferson.
Mm-hmm.
Are you kidding me? What is this spread? Why is Minnesota not favored by like 7 to 10?
Yeah. 3.5
Like,
is pretty. Yeah.
that's a very friendly spread. Um, Crazy stat of the day for you. The only quarterback in the league who completes less yards per pass attempt, Joe Flacco.
Wow.
Check down Joe is the only person who averages less yards per pass attempt than Kyler Murray this year.
Yeah, it's like that's kind of crazy because Flacco had like that almost 400-yard game, but he threw the ball like 60 times. So I guess that kind
Yeah,
of worked out to where it wasn't that big of an
yeah.
average.
Flacco's a 5.8, Murray's a 5.9.
Oh, that's funny.
Um, when your compatriot for yards per pass is check down Joe, boy, it's not been good. I get that you have DeAndre Hopkins back, and uh that's good. Did my There we go.
There you go.
What the hell happened there? There we go. Yeah. Go Minnesota here.
Yeah. Yeah, no reason not to really lean on Minnesota. They've kind of been showing it very consistently on offense too. Outside these wild numbers where you have the Cardinals that only put up 9 points against Seattle, to which we both agree, even though it's a 4-3 team, not a good defense. Um, and then they put up 42 against New Orleans, who actually I would have considered having a decent defense, but
Their
New Orleans
secondary
is
beat up to hell.
exactly. I was actually about to say New Orleans is without fucking anybody. So I agree. We'll go. We both go Minnesota there, and let's get right into it because that's the team in the next game right here. The Las Vegas Raiders
I hate this game.
going into New Orleans to face off against those Saints. Both teams sitting at 2 wins, 2-4 for the Raiders, 2-5 for New Orleans. New Orleans getting +1.5 here at home. And Craig apparently hates this game. So who you got?
I am playing. I am going to try to create some chaos.
Okay.
I think Taysom Hill throws for 50 yards, runs for 50 yards, and receives 50 yards in this game, and the Saints win.
Okay. That's not happening. So is there a wager on this or you just put out that statement? There's no way.
I would wager on the throwing
50
and running.
50 50?
I
You think he's going to throw 50 yards in this game?
absolutely threw for 48 in the last one.
Yeah, I guess it was just 2, but yeah, for 48, I guess yeah.
The Saints are getting more and more comfortable using Taysom Hill in any way they can. They are
Yeah.
one of the worst scoring offenses in the league, but they are playing a defense that is utterly horrendous. I think they're going to keep. I don't think they're going to trust Dalton to try to pick apart this defense. I think they're going to look for creative ways to do it. And I think that might be Taysom Hill. And that's not just because I'm starting him in fantasy this week at tight end. It's
Right.
because I honestly think they try to do some crazy shit in this game.
All right.
And
I'll give you this. All right. 5 gift subs on the line. 150 all-purpose yards. I'll give you the 3 added up. I won't even separate them.
I'll take the over on that. Yeah, absolutely.
150. I take the
absolutely.
under on Taysom Hill on that one. Absolutely.
I'll take the over.
We're
on Taysom
facing
Hill.
each other on fantasy in this, so I'm really hoping he goes under on this, and you don't prove that. So yeah, we'll make this the bet. All right, let me hold on.
I could see there being a scenario where Taysom Hill breaks off like we saw it in the first game where they started to really work in Taysom Hill, where he broke off that 50-yard touchdown run, right? He hasn't missed a pass this year. He's averaging about 20 yards a pass.
Taysom Hill over under all purpose 150 yards. 5 subs.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
It's down. Bam.
I'll take the over on that, absolutely. I really think the Saints need something to spark that offense. Could be just doing weird shit with Taysom Hill.
There you go.
And the Raiders love shooting themselves in the dick, and losing games like that. Why not just forget to mark Taysom Hill on a 60-yard touchdown run?
So here's the thing. This is what it is for me when I was taking a look at this game, because it's a vast amount of injuries for both sides, right? But the worst ones are going to be on New Orleans side. They're down Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry, both out with ankle and foot injuries. respectively. Jawan Johnson, who actually did a little bit of work for them in that last game, questionable with a hamstring. He's not out by any means. But then you brought up that secondary. Marshawn Lattimore out with the abdomen. Bradley Roby's been, recently on the IR with the foot. PJ Williams been on the IR with a quad injury. So and then a questionable Abedo, Adebo, Paulson Adebo.
Yeah, I think it's a Debo or a Debo.
Adebo. Ooh, that's better sounding way. All right, but basically, that's a lot of fucking injuries, especially in secondary. Granted, it's not like that's hurting them with that Taysom Hill number anyway. Taysom Hill is going to be like their only fucking guy to go to, I guess. I guess my thought is that he's not going to be able to hide because there's nobody really out there for the Saints to be able to catch a damn ball. So, I don't know. I just really like the Raiders in this one.
No, that's fair. I just don't trust their coach to be able to see what's right in front of his face. I don't trust Josh McDaniels to go, oh, they got Taysom Hill on the field. Maybe we should mark him. They'll be like, let's double team the light post over there. The really scary target.
Yeah, both these teams surprisingly bad on defense. Oddly enough, two top 10 teams as far as points scored on offense, but I think it's kind of depends on who you have back there. I think it's very interesting what the Saints are able to do when they are able to turn it on. But yeah, Andy Dalton back there. We'll see what they're able to mix in. Obviously, like Chris Olave for them as well. And then yeah, Raiders, they go as Josh Jacobs goes at this point. So we'll see what he's able to do with the Rock. But let's keep it moving into a NFC East matchup. And this one's very interesting. Very interesting when I saw this spread. Because it just makes me feel that people just aren't a believer in the Jets yet. Poor Bob Saleh. He gets his team to 5-2. And yet he's still being the underdog at home against this goddamn New England Patriots squad. New England going into New York, coming in at 3-4. Jets at 5-2. Jets getting +2.5 here at home. Obviously, the story coming into this one, two stories, I suppose. New England Patriots side, obviously, the mix-up between your Zappy and your Jones as far as the quarterback side. For the Jets, the unfortunate loss of Breece Hall and the all of a sudden signing of James Robinson there. Should be an interesting mix-up as far as that stuff's concerned. What are your thoughts on the game?
Oh, it's strength versus weakness here, right? Because Patriots' pass defense is fourth in the league and allowing only a 58% completion percentage, whereas Zach Wilson only has a 57% completion percentage, third worst in the NFL. Yeah, I'm gonna hit the Jets here on this one. I really like the addition of James Robinson. He's always been a guy who, like, to go to a fantasy
Yeah.
perspective on this, because the stat I found for it, because I knew James Robinson was a guy who likes to have the ball in his hands a lot, kind of like what I was talking about with Kenneth Walker. I couldn't find an average per game when he touches the ball, but I did find his fantasy points per game. 18.6 average fantasy points when he gets at least 15 touches in a game. The more he gets the ball, the better he is. And he's going to be the guy with Breece Hall out. I think that was a really savvy pickup by them. And I think it's the difference in what's going to be a pretty tight game. Um, I I have no faith in Mac Jones anymore. I really don't. And I get the fact that the Patriots still think he's their guy, but 2 touchdowns, 7 picks against this Jets defense.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, so this has been interesting because I think it's a um, I will say got the Jets as well. Just that those New York picks they've been rolling for me, so we're gonna stick with it. But obviously the kind of folding that New England did as far as uh, pulling Jones in that game, a game that was still obviously well in hand. Like it's you're talking about second quarter, right? That he gets pulled. Um, I don't like that decision. I think it just only hurts your team because then you go back to
Yeah.
Zappy. He plays like crap anyways. You lose against a team that you should have you should have beat, and you lose badly against them. It almost wipes out the two wins that you had before, which is the only momentum you had going, in which you know you shut out Detroit, which Detroit's shown us who they are. It's like without DeAndre Swift, they're gonna struggle. And then yeah, you beat the Browns, but can't really think too much of the Browns at this point. It's it feels like yeah, this team they brought themselves back. They brought themselves to 3-4. I think they still have the ability if Mac is able to get right to still be a team in this division. That being said, and although honestly, yeah, losing a Brees Hall that might take a little bit of the wind out of the sails if you're New York Jets. But I'm in agreement with you on this as far as like I think Robinson is a great pickup for them. I don't think you lose too much. I like I said before, I like actually Michael Carter. I think he's going to be a good second addition or second piece
Yeah.
to work with James Robinson. But yeah, I think you bring in James Robinson to be your feature back now at this point, and I don't think you lose too much over Brees Hall. Zach Wilson needs to get better if this team's going to continue to win. But I think this New England team is still kind of in shambles a little bit. So yeah, I like the Jets.
Yeah. I agree with everything you said there. I don't know what's going on with this New England team, but it doesn't look good.
Um, let's move on to a the Battle of Pennsylvania, a team that doesn't look good, as you just said, to a team that looks like potentially the best of the goddamn league right here. You got the Pittsburgh Steelers going into Philly to face off against the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles getting minus 10.5 at home. Only undefeated team in the league at 6-0. Pittsburgh coming in at 2-5. Um, Eagles unfortunately having the you know the unfortunate questionable hamstring of Brandon Graham, so they end up getting Robert Quinn and just have stacked themselves even better. um, Eagles are highly favored in this, but for great reason, and I have no reason not to pick them. So, just to settle my side of it, I got Philly for this one.
I'll have you know, I did nearly take the Steelers in this. I was like that close to going. You know what? 10.5 is a bit much. And the Steelers really should have picked off Tua like 4 times last week. It's not a bad secondary if they could keep their hands on the ball. No, I couldn't do it. It's Philly. Um, I do like Kenny Pickett. I still do. But until Pittsburgh shows that they can reliably not throw him to the Wolves, I gotta believe they're gonna throw him to the Wolves again. Right? So it's the Eagles. Yeah, please help Kenny Pickett. Like,
Yeah,
stop doing this to the poor kid.
you gotta start running the goddamn ball. Just a bit more,
A
please.
little bit. Don't make him throw the ball 44 times.
20
Like,
rushes, please, for Naj. Like, it will really help him out. It'll really help everybody out. I've harped on this before. It's like, I think it's a lost stat because even when your defense does, and now you are, you're a pretty goddamn beat up defense if you're talking about the Steelers right now. It's only gotten worse for these guys. But no matter what, any team does themselves favors by having better time of possession. Keep your defense off the field as much as possible. Keep them as rested as possible so you don't have to go into your depth of your rotation. Keep your best guys out there. Good things are going to tend to happen. There's a reason why your first string guys are your first string guys. You want them out there as much as possible. If you aren't able to sustain drives because you keep going three and out, keep throwing interceptions, keep giving them short fields, whatever, you just it's just the down, the spiral. You're just not gonna ever. You're never going to do yourselves favors for your quarterback as far as how he's going to be able to, perform in the pocket. You're not going to do favors for your team in general because you just, you fall behind and all of a sudden it's just even more of a panic mode. Now you're going less to the run. Now you're not, it's just like. I think this team at 2-5 is. They're fortunate they got a really crap Tampa Bay team because they should be 1-6, if that. Yeah, Philly all the way. It's a crazy spread, but there's no reason not to believe in Philly on
yeah.
this one.
I was trying to justify it, but I couldn't find a way to justify where Pittsburgh keeps this thing within 20, let alone 10.
Yeah. And as we keep going through the divisional games, let's go into another one here. A battle of the AFC South. As we go Tennessee going into Houston, face off against the Texans. Texans getting plus 2.5 here at home. A 4-2 Tennessee team against a 1-4-1 Houston Texans team. I do not know why this spread is the way it is.
This is another one where I almost picked Houston to pull off the upset.
Wow.
And then I looked up Derrick Henry's numbers versus Houston. In his last 3 games, just the last 3 versus the Houston Texans, I swear to God, I double and triple checked these numbers before I wrote them down. They're not screwed up. 3 games, 673 yards and 7 rushing touchdowns.
3 games. It's nasty.
Derrick Henry's about to put up some video game bullshit numbers.
Yep.
Tennessee.
Yes. Titans all the way. I feel like weirdly that the Texans, I think they have the right kind of game plan in place for perhaps how their offense is going to operate. If they really dedicate themselves to actually running with Dameon Pierce like they've said they were going to do. They haven't shown it all the time. Davis Mills has had to sling it. He does all right when he has to sling it at times, or he could do really bad. I think you want to kind of limit how many throws as he has. But, yeah, it could work when he's throwing it like 35 times or something like that, but you probably don't want that. I think this team could operate well with a little bit more of a measured, measured attack, closer to 50-50. The Tennessee Titans, on the other hand, Ryan Tannehill doesn't need to throw the fucking ball at all. Just keep handing it off to Derrick Henry. That stat brought it up the best. I think Tennessee runs away with this one. Just, history. You're also talking about a Tennessee team that has won 4 straight. They've been kind of close-ish. So I suppose that's why the spread is a little closer like this. That 2.5-point spread is very still surprising to me. But yeah, Tennessee by way more than the 3 that they're getting right here. But yeah. Um, On to the next game. We got the Washington Commanders going into Indianapolis, face off against the Colts. Colts getting -3 here at home. Colts sitting at 3-3-1. Commanders sitting at 3-4. A couple 3-win teams here. Um, and this is going to be the battle of Taylor Heineke versus Sam Ellinger. Uh, Not what we expected when this one was put on to the schedule earlier. We thought this was going to be the Wentz versus Matt Ryan show. How quickly things change. Um, what are your thoughts on this one going in?
I love the Colts in this. I huge hammering on the Colts, and this might be again. I mention this every week. I'm a huge college football nerd. Every week I write up a prediction thing on the college football games at sportscliches.ca/blog.
That's right.
I'm actually doing pretty good this year. 26, 24, and 1 on the season.
Okay.
Um, Sam Ellinger does a lot of things that you absolutely love as a quarterback. Not the least of which being score a lot. This is a guy who in his college career, 94 touchdowns to 27 interceptions, 33 rushing touchdowns to go with that. On top of that, in his senior season, he went 308 consecutive passes without throwing an interception.
Wow.
He is a guy
It's a dude.
who will absolutely hold on to the ball pretty well. He had one bad season with interceptions at Texas where he had 10 of them. That was a Texas team that didn't have as much wide receiver talent and were kind of struggling. And then obviously in his freshman season he wasn't great, but he was a freshman. It happens a lot to freshman quarterbacks in the NCAA. In general, he was unbelievably talented at getting the ball into the end zone and not giving the ball away. He also only lost 3 fumbles in his career at Texas. This is a guy who ran for 33 touchdowns and almost 2,000 yards and only lost 3 fumbles. Um, he's absolutely just a guy who knows how to score. He knows where the end zone is and he knows how to put the ball in there. I love this switch for the Colts. Uh, I knew he dropped to the 6th round mainly because of injury concerns with him. In his last season, he only started 10 games. Season before, he missed the bowl game with an injury. He'd had a couple injuries near the end of his career, and obviously it carried over when he had that ACL sprain last season. He's been allowed time to rest, to learn the NFL game, to do all the things that apparently the Colts love to they see him do. I like Sam Ellinger in this game a lot, especially with no tape, not much tape out there of him against NFL defenses. I think the Colts utilize him and Jonathan Taylor in a very interesting running dynamic where all of a sudden those RPOs become just read options. And then you can go read RPOs where you actually have 3 options. If the defender's spying you, you give it off. The defender commits to the run, you bootleg out. If they drop a cornerback to cover that, now you go over the top. He brings a lot of dynamics that Matt Ryan doesn't. Uh, I love you, Matt, but this was the right move for the Colts at the right time, and I think it leads to a pretty decent win where the Colts offense finally looks really good.
Yeah, I have the Colts as well. I think it's just a matter of, as much as I do like aspects of what Washington has been doing, and I think they're better than I thought they would be. We know what Heineke, like, the ceiling is there. It feels like the ceiling's not going to be crazy high with him. Um, Still a decent quarterback for sure to go back there. I started doing some reading on Ellinger, so like got a little bit more of an idea, and I was it's like, oh, you know what? This just might be one of those perfect times where this is a team that it's still 500 despite everything, but
Yeah.
it feels like they've been really flat, and this just might be the spark right here. So that's kind of the lean I went with as far as picking the Colts on this one. It's still a big question mark, obviously. You talk about two teams that uh, they've definitely shown the bad side of them, and
Yep.
for some reason or another, um, I think Washington's even done a better job of going with a running game than the Colts have for whatever reason. Even though you have a Jonathan Taylor, hopefully Taylor's able to get a little bit more work in here, and you're able to utilize the talent of a guy like Ellinger to pull it out for the Colts.
Yeah, I really like this switch for the Colts. I think it's the right time. Um, yeah, I do really like Sam Ellinger. I know coming out of college, a lot of people looked at him as a bit of a work in progress guy. Um, but it sounds like the Colts really like him too. So I think this is the right team to do this with too. You have Jonathan Taylor. Is there any better safety valve for a rookie quarterback?
There you go. And let's keep it going. Here we go. This one's okay. If I was a logical person looking at this game, I would see the amount of injuries that the San Francisco 49ers have, and I'd be like, oh shit, maybe I shouldn't pick them. But you also take a look at it. This is a Rams team that I believe is 0-7 in the regular season in the last 7 games against this Niners team. That might be not accurate. It's 0-5. Definitely swept in the last 2 regular seasons. Probably not back to 3. I'm trying to
I-
think.
I'll I'll I don't know the recent numbers, but he's 9-3 in the 12 games against Sean McVay as Kyle Shanahan.
Yes. Um, Fortunate news that came out today. We have Debo Samuel that's going to be out for this game. This game was a +1 for the Rams. It has now gone to even. This is a pick 'em game between the two teams. Um, Sam Bradford and this Rams squad has not looked good in most of their games. They did just pick up a win though against Carolina, um, and did lose to San Francisco a couple weeks ago. But this Niners team has just lost 2 straight, coming off a ugly loss against Atlanta and an ugly fourth quarter against Kansas City. Despite the injuries and all that, I am a true homer. There's no way I will not pick the Niners for this game, no matter what.
Let's do the roll call. Aziz Al-Shaair out, Javon Kinlaw out, Emmanuel Mosley out,
Ben,
Elijah Mitchell out, Debo Samuel out, Kyle Juszczyk out,
yeah.
Drake Greenlaw out, Eric Armstead out, Jason Verrett questionable, Jawan Jennings questionable.
Verrett would be coming back from injury, so that's why
Yes.
questionable. Has been off. Jawan Jennings, um, that's a likely play, even though questionable
Yeah,
out
you would
there.
imagine.
Yeah, but yeah, Greenlaw's been
Oh,
out for a little bit. Armstead, Kinlaw have been out for weeks now.
yeah.
Juice hurts because that fucking finger, like he literally jammed it while going for a stiff arm, I believe, on a play. Broke his fucking pinky right there. Unfortunately, he's gonna be out for this next one. Um, yeah,
And that's no team misses their fullback more than the Niners miss Kyle Juszczyk here.
yeah. If not, I mean Debo, obviously,
Yeah,
enough said, right?
yeah.
This
Fuck it,
is
I'm going
a
with the Niners.
you go with the nice. Okay.
Um,
this is
I do
this is
not,
still a Ram team that is absolutely devastated on their offensive line. They're
and I
still
don't
out
trust this Rams
3.
team at all. Um, they have shown nothing positive this year, despite somehow being a 500 team. Um, as you said, their offensive line banged up. Um, they're Van Jefferson, I think, may be back for this game. They're still out Cam Akers. That's huge. I I don't know. I don't trust him.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
don't trust them. I don't care how beat up the Niners are. I don't trust the Rams at all.
Cam Akers isn't taking another snap for this team. Basically,
He's done.
he's done. Like it's surprising he wasn't moved at the deadline. I don't know what is still going on there. Um, but deadline's coming up on Tuesday, right? This
Yeah,
next Tuesday.
deadlines. Yeah,
Surprise not gone yet. I expect he'll be gone next few days. Basically, that's my feeling.
he will likely. Yes.
Um, but yeah, it's a aspect of at least right now. You're talking about a Christian McCaffrey that's going to be coming in with another week under the playbook. Apparently, it's going to be opened up a lot more with him there. He only actually took 5 snaps. He only played in 5 plays after in the second half in that game last week. So kind of an egregious kind of misuse of Christian McCaffrey. I know they weren't comfortable with the full playbook with him, but very surprising to hear that. Um, you have had some pretty goddamn good success with Brandon Ayuk. He is now going to be your featured wide receiver. You finally opened it up with Kittle a bit in that last game as well. You hope that Jawan Jennings is able to come back, and they've shown some willingness to work with guys like Ray McLeod and Danny Gray. Gray's interesting because he kind of he could open up the field as far as with his speed. So I wonder what they'll do with that. And then yeah, we will. Yeah, we'll have to see. I really hope we get a Jason Verrett that's ready to play in this game. I think he'll be an excellent pairing along with Travarius Ward, and that's great to see. Is that we don't have Ward on that injury list? He has been pretty dinged up, but yeah, he was I believe full participant in practice. So
Yeah.
we'll see that going forward with them. The other question mark, I suppose, as far as the Rams are concerned, um, I just don't. Yeah, like you take the I don't know what to think of Matt Stafford anymore. That's basically
I
it.
He won a Super Bowl, and somehow I think less of him as a quarterback since.
It's just become I could get the ball to Cooper Cup. You have Robinson, right? Allen Robinson, but
Yeah,
like he has
he
been
doesn't
absolutely
exist.
nothing for this team. Uh,
Doesn't exist.
Oddly enough, yeah, you're talking about your 2 tight ends pulling in way more usage as
Yep.
than he is. So it's really Higbee, Coop, and yeah Skronik. What the fuck?
And Skoranek.
Skoronik. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go Niners.
Shouts out Notre Dame.
Well, there we go. One of the more intriguing games. We'll go into the next one right here, and a couple winning teams. You brought it up earlier. Quite a surprise that they are sitting in the position they are.
Yeah.
New York Giants going into Seattle to face off against the Seahawks. Giants coming in at 6-1. Seahawks at 4-3. Seahawks getting a -3 here at home. Um, and yeah, all surprises here as far as where these two teams are sitting. You already know where I'm going. I've been picking these goddamn New York teams, except for like one week. I slipped up and didn't pick them. They both won that week too. We're going Giants on this one.
I think I tipped my hand a little bit on this earlier, but I'm going against you. I'm
Yeah,
going with the Seahawks. Um, I love the Giants, make no mistake. I love a lot of what the Giants are. And but I think I look at this game differently than you. I see this game as a game between two of the upper echelon teams in the NFC.
yeah,
which fucking blows my goddamn mind that I'm saying that because we're talking about the Giants and Seahawks.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think the difference here is Kenneth Walker. I just I can't stress enough how good he's been over the last 2 weeks. Over the past 2 weeks, fantasy points wise. Now again, not always the biggest indicator of things. Kenneth Walker has outscored everybody except for four quarterbacks. He's outscored Patrick Mahomes. He's outscored Tyreek Hill. This dude has been crazy good. He loves getting the ball. And he's going to keep getting the ball. They have no reason to stop feeding him the rock. Uh, the Giants allow the eighth most yards per play, despite not giving up many points. They're a bend don't
Yep.
break team. I think they break a little bit in this one. I think this is an important lesson game for them that honestly makes them better in the long run. But I think the Seahawks are gonna win this one.
It's yeah. I mean, I think both of these teams are going to be able to attack each other's weaknesses as far as offense to defensive side.
Yeah,
Both these teams want to run the ball. Both these teams can't stop the run on the other side. I
very true.
think I think that what the Giants have shown is that they are that bend don't break offense to where you'll get that drive into the 20, but you're kicking a field goal instead of the other side to where it seems like for whatever reason um like this defense, yeah, it it defies that logic. Like especially a team that gives up so many yards on the ground, you'd expect once it even gets compressed, they'd still give up the points, but they defy that. How they do it? It's not like they're getting interceptions. It's not like they're getting their sacks. What they have is the Dable factor. That's the thing. This team, it defies odds. This team shouldn't exactly be 6-1. They're still damn good, but good God, the way that they've pulled together 6-1 with absolutely no receivers. Um, this might be a Danny Dimes show. He might break down this defense. If there's one thing we know is that this Seahawks defense is absolute shit across the board.
Yes,
Points, yards, both yardage,
unless they're
rushing,
playing the
passing.
Cardinals.
So that's the only thing they got going. Like it's going to require, I think, the classic thing that the Giants don't do. I think this is so much of both teams kind of are going to be doing the same thing. It's going to be relying on potentially mistakes. And if there's one thing that's it's kind of been proven, the Giants don't make those mistakes. Seattle's
I
been
know.
really good about not making those mistakes too, but I don't think you'd really lean on them as much. I just really like the build of how the Giants have done it, just incredibly scrappy, and yeah, I just don't have the faith in the Seahawks defense to even stop a middle of the road offensive team as far as points are concerned that the Giants are, but they're going to run the ball on you. It's going to be quads. It's going to be a little Daniel Jones funk, and they're going to throw it to some no name like what would be your sixth wide receiver on most other teams, if that. This guy would be on the practice squad on some other teams, but he is your number two receiver for the New York Giants, and he's going to get some catches. Just crazy, just how this team goes. But I can't help but love and try to pick the Giants, especially when they're playing the Seahawks. I don't want to see the Seahawks win either. Definitely homerism in me.
See, I can't argue a thing you said there. I don't know. I see Kenyon
I
Drake
make
went off
too
for a
much sense.
hundred. Kenyon Drake went off for 117 yards against this Giants defense, and I'm like, oh, Kenneth Walker's going for like 400. Okay.
I love it. All right. Understood. I mean, yeah, and that's kind of the beauty of the season. It's been, I think, for other than a team like the Giants, it's been uh incredibly wacky. The only reason I say that is because Giants have been consistently winning, but it's not like their games haven't been like a little up and down. They've had to take games that were ugly at first and turn them around. So it's yeah, it's the kind of season to where, yeah, I mean, God, the Seahawks at 5-3, that's crazy to think, but it'd be the Giants at 7-1 otherwise,
7-1 might be
unless
crazier
they
than five
fucking
and three Seahawks.
unless they fucking tie, which would be kind of hilarious. 6-1-1 and 5 or
No, 4-3 and
4-3
one.
and 1. That'd be pretty fucking funny. That'd be funny too. Um,
Tell you what, this next game much easier to pick.
yeah. Let's go. Speaking of funny things, let's go to the joke that is the Green Bay Packers going into Buffalo to face off against the very serious Buffalo Bills. Now, Green Bay coming in with a 3-4 record, just coming on against losses to the Washington Commies, the New York Jets, and the aforementioned New York Giants. Buffalo Bills coming off of 3 straight wins against Kansas City, Pittsburgh, and Baltimore. Buffalo looking like one of the better teams here, 5-1 on the record. They are getting that representation on this spread as they're coming in at home -11. Who you got, Craig?
If I could trust the Packers to give the ball to Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon, I
Right.
actually think they'd have a shot at pulling off this upset.
Yeah.
Bills do not like facing good running backs, and they would be facing 2 of them who do completely different things. It's the ultimate way to throw off this Bills defense because this Bills defense is very good, and they really like playing against the pass. And they nearly had Tre'Davious White back, which would have been just unfair to the rest of the league. But he's still out for this one. He'll probably be back next week. Um, if I could trust the Packers to try to use their run game to really throw off the Bills, I would not only like them to cover this, but potentially pull off an upset. That being said, I can't trust them to do that. Aaron Rodgers is going to throw the ball 50 times, and they're going to lose by 30. It's Bills.
This one, like, so my gut feeling immediately, right off the bat, had something in mind. Based on how the season has gone, no surprise on that. This is the interesting thing, though. Oddly enough, as wishy-washy and not as great as this Green Bay Packers team has been, if they have one thing, it's oddly enough their passing defense. Been pretty staunch in not allowing a lot of yards. If the Buffalo Bills want to do one thing and not do another thing, it's pass the ball and not fucking run it. Or if they run it, it's Josh Allen. Like, they refuse to hand the ball to Cook or Montgomery. That being said, I think the first ranked passing defense from the Packers is kind of fugazi. Like, I don't think that's real.
Yeah.
I think they've been given the benefit of teams not needing to pass against them because they're kicking their ass.
I was going to say, they also have a lot of who the fuck have you played at quarterback syndrome.
Yeah.
Week 1, Kirk Cousins goes for 277 on him. Since then, the quarterbacks the Packers have played are as follows in order: Fields, Tom Brady, Mac Jones, Danny Dimes. Was this a Joe Flacco game? No, this was a Zach Wilson game. And then obviously Taylor Heineke.
Yeah.
That's a
The
whole lot of who
monsters.
the fuck have you played.
The monsters at the quarterback position. You know those like 32 through like 25 guys we always shit on because they're not really starting quarterbacks?
You've played all of them. You've played all of them.
That's kind of fucked
Except
up
for
with
maybe
us, but,
Danny
you know.
Dimes.
Danny Dimes
has done
he
a lot
deserves
of good
respect.
things this year.
My man's running the rock. No,
But
and here's the other thing, and this is kind of my other thought on this one, is that the one thing that the your point as far as being able to utilize your best possible options on offense in your run game, in your your Dillons, in your Jones, is the exact strength of this Buffalo defense. They're holding folks to 76 yards a game on the ground. It's just a spell for this Packers team to get absolutely everything's lining up for this Packers team to get stomped. Even minus 11, I like the Bills in this one as well.
Yeah, even the game that the Bills lost, it was one of those fucking. It was the game against the Dolphins where they outplayed the Dolphins to no end, and the Dolphins snuck a weird win past them that I said it at the time and I stick by it. Could never happen again.
Yeah.
Right? It's the Packers aren't going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, so both on Buffalo for that one. And let's go into it. The last game, Monday night. It is an AFC North Classic, the Battle of Ohio. Cincinnati Bengals going into Cleveland to face against the Browns in a divisional matchup. Cleveland Browns getting +3 here at home. Bengals sitting at 4-3 on the year. Cleveland at 2-5. What are you thinking for this one, my friend?
Everything in my gut tells me to take the Browns. Everything about this game tells me to take the Browns.
Wow. Oh, all right. Explain yourself on that one, because everything in my gut told me to take Cincinnati.
Joe Burrow has never beaten the Browns in his career. Zone 3 against them.
Oh, okay. Okay.
He averages a
Interesting
full
stat.
yard less per pass attempt than he does against every other team in the NFL. No Jamar Chase.
Nope.
Kareem Hunt is actually starting to get the ball a lot more, and Nick Chubb is still scary good. Cincinnati has covered its last 5 games against the spread outright. It has never in the history of the team covered 6 in a row. Everything about this game is telling me like the Browns are going to win. That being said, am I really gonna bet on Jacoby Brissett over Joe Burrow? No. No, I'm
No.
not. I'm going to take the Bengals despite everything that's staring me in the face because I know I'm not gonna bet on Jacoby Brissett over Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I'm on the Bengals as well. I think it's been the combo of how the Bengals have turned this around. It's not only been on the offensive side to where they've started to play a little bit better and Burrow's play a little bit better. The offensive line started to get a little bit more solidified. This is a team that stayed fairly injury free.
Yeah.
Not exactly completely, but they haven't. They don't have anybody egregious as of late going down, so a little bit more
Um,
solid a unit. Um,
they, they did lose Jamar Chase with a hip injury.
exactly, that's true. But if there's anybody that has a depth of wide receivers, it's this fucking team.
Oh no, now we have to throw to T.
Oh
Higgins.
no, Tyler Boyd is our two.
Oh
Oh
god, Tyler
no. Oh
Boyd.
no.
Oh,
Um,
Hayden Hurst is gonna have to get the
yeah, and
passes in
it's
the red zone
and Hayden
now.
Hurst has
Oh
been.
god.
Hayden Hurst is getting like 5, 6 catches a game. It seems like for this team.
Hayden Hurst is good.
Yeah. Um, and yeah, this is you're talking about Cincy teams that's actually been winning games lately. Cleveland has not. Uh, and the feeling, I do like Nick Chubb, and I think Jacoby. He's keeping it steady for this team as well as he can. That being said, this team still only won a couple games. They can look all right, but they're not picking up W's. Um, and you're talking about 3-point spread. Give me Cincy all day. Simple as that.
Yeah,
One team's
I
winning
know.
and on the winning train for the last handful of
Yeah,
games. One team's losing consistently, and nothing pops to me as far as like this player's coming back or
yeah.
this player's lost in this other side. Jamar Chase is a hit, obviously for Cincinnati. Jamar Chase also has had off games for Cincinnati this year, and it's it has resulted in some losses, I suppose. So take that into consideration. But I think if they have a game plan around it more, and
Yeah.
they still have fucking Joe Mixon, we have not brought up yet, and I still think is absolutely premier back. Just hasn't really been able to show it this year. I feel for the most part, but still love Joe Mixon. I know in the last game he had some decent stats, so look for him to do some work in this game potentially.
Yeah, this if any team can afford to lose their top receiver and still have the game plan of okay, we can just keep airing it out. It's the Bengals. That top
Yeah.
three is absolutely disgustingly talented. So I mean, Higgins and Boyd get the ball more. They've done that in games before when teams decided they weren't going to let Jamar Chase beat them.
All right, so that is the slate right there. We didn't touch on Kansas City or the Los Angeles Chargers because they are both on bye there. So just
God, they could not come soon enough for the Chargers.
eh, not wrong. We differed on three games. It looks like this week. Chicago at Dallas. Dallas getting the -10 at home. I have Dallas. Craig has Chicago. We got the Las Vegas Raiders at New Orleans against the Saints. Saints getting +1 at home. I have the Raiders. Craig has New Orleans. And then we got the New York Giants at the Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks getting -3 at home. I have the Giants. Craig has the Seahawks. So we'll see how that all shakes down. We also have the prop bet on the line. Taysom Hill over under 150 all-purpose yards, 5 subs on the line for that one. We'll see how that goes. We'll be tracked. If I suppose you're not wrong. Thinking about it, the passing yards are if they use them, 2-3 times, very likely to get that. The rushing yards would be the next closest one. Oddly enough, for a guy that's listed as tight end, the receiving yards is probably where he's going to have the hardest time getting there. But we made it all-purpose yards, so it doesn't even matter how he gets them as long as he gets all combined. I guess all-purpose yards usually is only rushing and
Receiving, but
receiving, and maybe return yards if you're a returner. That technically should count. It's all-purpose, right? But
yeah.
obviously, we're adding passing yards. I will say though, if he does for some reason start returning for the Saints, we're not counting the return yards.
Oh, come
Fuck that.
on.
Fuck that. No. We just said the
I
three
want to see
I
the
gave you combined as a favor.
I want to see the
No. Yeah.
68-yard punt return count.
I'm fucking pulling the last of my hair out. Ah, how dare you get 75 yards right there? He's going to cost me. Uh, but yes, that will do it for the slate right there. We got all the games covered. Good stuff. Anything else you want to hit upon? We're actually almost 3.5 hours into this episode. Anything else you want to hit on in the sports world? Obviously, we've gotten some stuff starting as far as the leagues are concerned. We're finally in some regular season, obviously, for AHL it's been for a little bit. We're getting some opening NBA action as well. Some intrigue there. Anything you want to touch upon,
I
Craig?
mean, neither of those. If you want to know my hockey opinions, again, sportsclichés.ca
There you
slash
go.
blog. I am starting it it's going to be a bi-weekly thing. Usually on Sundays, I'm going to write just a quick update on how teams are doing. My first one was all the positives for teams from the first couple weeks, because let's face it, we all get really negative early in the season. We all see our teams doing things and we go, why do you suck? So I wanted to stay positive early. So yeah, if you want to know that, sportscliches.ca slash blog, that'll be where you go. World Series is
Yep.
happening right now, right
Yep.
here. Phillies up 6-5, but it looks like the Astros 2 on, 2 out in the bottom of the 10th, trying to get something going here to seal game one. Um, I would love to see the Phillies win this.
Hmm.
Um, two reasons. One, uh, Houston made a deal with the devil to win that World Series, and I want to see their people continue to suffer. Oh, that got away.
Mm.
Um, and two, I just kind of like this Phillies team. You know, they weren't great in the regular season. It's a blue collar team, kind of made up of a bunch of cast offs and young guys, and just in general people who have kind of meshed well in this playoffs, right? And I'd love to see them pull this off. So that's who I want to win. But obviously, I think the Astros are favorites in this for a reason.
I mean, you're talking about a team that has 19 It's a 19 game difference over
Yeah.
their NFC or NFC,
Oof.
their NL counterpart. Yeah, Philly being the sixth seed in the playoffs, Houston being the number one here. So
Yeah.
definitely a wild card versus a favorite scenario. But yeah, two outs here, second and third for Houston.
And
Um,
Robertson looks very wild right now for the Phillies. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. That's an out. That's it. Wait, I thought that was an out.
oh,
I thought if you lean into a pitch, it's an out. Oh, that's about as blatant leaning into a pitch as I've ever seen.
hmm.
Anyways, this is a podcast, and you guys can't see this.
Yes, that's all right. Things happen live. Gotta cover them. This is the yeah. This is pretty big. I mean, game one, you're going to extras. This is pretty. It's a pretty good momentum swing right here, and especially if you're on the road like Philly is right here. Like, or sorry, yeah, no, on yeah bottom of no, Houston's on the road. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
It
No,
always it always
Phillies are on the road. Houston's at home.
bottom of okay. All right. Yeah, no, I'm mixing it up in my head, I guess, as far as, yeah, when people pitch. All right, yeah.
Oh, it's just a ball if you lean in. Okay.
Okay, yeah. Hmm.
But that is it. I don't know if I'm a little bit ahead of Tap or not because he has not reacted yet, but
No, yeah, I'm still seeing this at 3-0 right now. 3-0 count, two out. Oh, wow, so I'm a bit behind. So, yeah, string through strike, okay.
yeah, you were two pitches behind where I was at.
this is what I get. I'm not actually watching the game. I'm just watching the box right now.
Gotcha.
Play by play.
Yeah, the Phillies do indeed take game one, 6-5.
All right. Hey, love to see that. Um,
And here's the crazy stat that they just threw up there. Game one winner goes on to win the World Series 22 of 27 times since 1985.
wow. Um, one thing I will bring up before we head off. Fun thing this week. Our two folks right here are facing off in fantasy football. We haven't done too many fantasy football updates or anything like that, but just of intrigue for our league, I suppose. Yeah, we got the good old Bosa D's, my team versus Who Are You, Craig's team here. Um, Projected to be within 2-3 points of one another. After last night's game, it's pretty much every bit as close.
Yeah.
I oh wait, okay. Original projection was 9 points.
Your
It
original
actually be
prediction was a 9 point favorite, but then Mark Andrews
I
had a
give a shit about that.
really bad one.
And Mark Andrews has for the last couple of games. He only got point 0.4 in the last game. I decided to roll with him for the fuck of it. We'll see how that bites me in the ass. See how Zach Ertz plays, I suppose. But very interesting going forward, I suppose, with I'll have the return of Eli Mitchell soon enough here, so I'm looking forward to that. That'll give me another back that I can really rely on. Jeff Wilson's been great, but he's not going to be doing shit with Christian McCaffrey down there
Nope.
this week. So we'll see.
I,
But
I
yeah,
am I am short of Travis Kelsey, which I'd like to have this week, but it's
yeah.
okay. Taysom's throwing for 50, running for 50, and catching for 50, and we're gonna be Gucci.
And you're finally able to start playing that D hop, so that's working out for you too.
Yeah, I stashed him for this.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's gonna start paying off.
yeah.
But yeah,
One more thing we can talk about, since I forgot about it. We have the fucking weirdest boxing card of all time this weekend. The Jake Paul Anderson Silva card.
oh my god, yes.
Jake Paul is indeed facing Anderson Silva this weekend in a card that also features former UFC middleweight Uriah Hall facing Le'Veon Bell. Yes,
Yep.
that Le'Veon Bell.
Yep.
And some dude named Chris Avila facing Dr. Mike,
Nice.
who is a doctor, I guess. I don't know. The YouTube guy.
Okay.
Um,
All right.
Also on this card is freaking former highly touted prospect Antonio Neves. Uh, which I was shocked to see. He's really struggled anytime he's faced anybody of serious competition, but he's gonna win because I don't know who Alexander Santiago is. But
Is this all a thriller? That's how some
yeah,
of this.
this is a thriller
So
card.
that's the odd thing. Oddly enough, with the thriller cards, you get a handful of the undercards that are actually some worthy boxing matches.
Yeah, you get like some
So
dudes you're like, oh yeah, I
probably
remember.
not. Yeah.
I remember when people were really high on Ogdelis Suarez.
Yeah.
She was a featherweight champion for a long time. Like, oh yeah, Antonio Neves. I remember when he was in the Olympics and he was supposed to be a big thing in boxing and really panned out, but like he's there. And then there's Le'Veon Bell and Uriah Hall.
There you go.
So yeah, I just figured I'd bring that one up because
Yeah.
fucking Le'Veon Bell's gonna get murdered and I'm gonna be sad about it. But like you're not this isn't like Le'Veon Bell versus Frank Gore. You're facing a dude who's got legitimate high level fight experience.
Yeah. Probably won't go well. Probably. But yeah, I think that kind of covers it right there for us. Um, yeah, awesome to get back after a week off
Yeah.
here. We will cover you next week on the Sports Clichés podcast. We'll get back into the regular uh, flow of things. Be sure to check us out. That's every Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific time. Catch that live on the twitch.tv/TapatiOJ channel. That is TAPATIOJ. Or you catch us on YouTube. Catch the VODs that our boy Craig will post up for us. That'll be search us on YouTube. Simply Sports Cliches. Easy enough to find us there. And also be sure to check out our boy Craig's blog as he covers the world of college football as well as the NHL and whatever the hell he else feels like posting on because he's just blogging. That's sportscliches.ca, I believe,
Flash blog.
/blog. So be able to check him out there if you just want a little something to read along and catch up in the world of college football and the NHL. I definitely need to catch up on my college football stuff. So
Yeah, don't do it this week. It's a bad week. There's not a lot of great games this week. I had trouble with this one. Usually what I like to do when I'm doing that blog is I like to find a couple of games like outside of the power conferences that's like, yo, this game in the MAC here is like really big for like who's gonna win the MAC. Fuck, even this week that was hard to do. There's like nothing good. It's a weird week.
there you go.
All the big teams are playing nobodies with the exception of I think Tennessee and Kentucky and Ohio State's playing Penn State, but Penn State is just coming off of getting blown up by Michigan, so it's probably not going to go well for them. But outside of that, it's like I think somebody's playing UT Martin, I think, who schedules a fucking FCS game in week 10.
Later in the
It,
season, yeah, I don't know about that one, but yeah, it's not going to help you too much in the standings, right? But
no.
it will be a win probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that all covers it right there. Thank you all for stopping by. I do appreciate it. And until next week, we'll see you on this side. Have a great night, great day. Enjoy the week that is in NFL football.
Deuces, everybody.
Later.